Alright guys, I think that we are live now, hopefully. And I'm gonna go ahead and do some really quick audio level adjustments. I think that Zombie Grub should probably be a heck of a lot louder than me.
Hello.
Alright. I think that we are okay. Let me know in the chat if anything's wrong. Guys, we just switched over from Kurun TV streaming. Unfortunately, his internet pooped out once again, so I will be once again doing the stream. So welcome to Jankytown, USA. Population me. And I think that we're going to be getting ready to get back into the game. As unfortunately, guys, we are going to be having some technical difficulties on this end, but we're getting back into it. Kelazhur and Midday, not in the middle of battle or anything, and we should be able to jump back into it unimpeded too heavily. Alright. Master Doll counting down in Spanish. I didn't actually know he knew any Spanish whatsoever. Pretty sure he takes Japanese in school. But anyways, back to the game. ZVT on our hands. And I think you were actually talking about how Kelazhur is starting to look better and better in this game.
Yeah. It's sorry, no, it's kind of lost the flow, but here we go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's looking a lot better. You know, it's always been a little tight just because of how. Oh my God! Please no! Please not again! Please not again! Okay, he fixes it. But yeah, just because of how like small his army's been while trading, but now he's starting to get up to that really just like unbeatable, no longer like barely holds type of army count. Going for the planetary is a little bold, really bold as the master pair does go down. Really bold and actually a very painful decision, and he just loses all his entire army for nothing. Awesome. Midday actually GG's. Interesting. Did not expect that.
I think he actually, yeah, after losing all of those units, maybe he felt super far behind.
It was a lot of units. It actually had no bank. I feel like if he just didn't try to sack on the planetary, he would have been able to potentially just like mac out of it. But it was never like
It didn't
that really
feel,
just like this is obviously in one person's like plan or another, because there was never that really big remax I guess we're used to seeing in a Roach Hydra versus like Marine tank, bio tank. Because he did play a little differently. Like the very standard Roach Hydra is like maybe a 1-1 Roach attack into Roach Hydra, or just like straight to Roach Hydra. And then it depends on the 2/2. You get the wide concave against the tanks and the bunkers, and then it goes up to like an invitation pit and like a hive. It's very like point. But he attacked, for instance, before 2/2.
Didn't really
which is a little uncommon.
Yeah, he never really got up like hive tag vipers and all that stuff. Like he didn't seem like he had much of the transition ready.
And usually when you go to attack with like the very standard one, you expand behind it. But he expanded actually pretty darn late on the fourth base came very late. So with no bank and the Terran army still all together, yeah, that was the time of GG.
All right, well, Midday definitely agrees and feels like, yeah, it was time to GG, but he's just going to move into the next game. He's not going to worry too much about that last game. Kind of says, okay, you know what? Sometimes it can be frustrating if you feel like you have a big advantage in the game, like you've shut down your opponent's third expansion, you're sitting on 3 bases, you're getting up your fourth expansion and everything, but, sometimes it's just better to move on and not really worry too much about that last game. Treat it as like a fresh series and go into it. So we'll see how exactly Midday is able to cope and deal with that. I think that he should be okay. Midday, he's a player that he may not have played like at big MLG stages or like obviously DreamHacks or anything. None of these players really have, but he's definitely a player that has been around. He's played in a lot of qualifiers and everything. I don't think that nerf should be getting to him too much.
I just want to know if he's going to go for Roach Hydra again. There are some players who are very unconfident in, just CVT, and it seems like those players are the ones that do depend more on Roach Hydra. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe just like, I don't know. It's less like micro-intensive possibly, but
yeah.
Questions be answered soon.
All right. We're going to go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Top of the blue Terran player representing a pro Dolly, it is Kelazhur.
And the upper right as the red Zerg, its complexity is Midday.
Okay, I'm going to take a gamble. I totally forgot to figure out, is this, nope, that's Skyfire. That's Midday, there we go. Sorry guys, unfortunately production issues just because we had to restart the stream, new observer and everything. I'm not 100% set up to actually stream. Still some stuff left over from yesterday, but hopefully it should be okay and smooth sailing from here on out. So thank you to everyone that's still actually sticking around and still tuning in for the show. But with that being said, let's go ahead and check out how this game is going to be going. Kelazhur currently up 1-0 after a very interesting game number 1. But new map is going to be Nimbus. Cross spawn position is going to be the spawn locations. And how are you feeling about that, Zombie Grub? Because one thing I'll say is that Midday's his creep spread wasn't like terrible, but it also wasn't like really that impressive, right? And I think like on a big map like Nimbus, getting that creep all the way to your opponent's side of the map can be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, considering there wasn't a whole lot of like like the killing of creep from the Terran player, it really wasn't that great. So so on this map and these positions, kind of, not that great for Kelazhur as it is, the longer rally distance. But if Midday is going to go for Hydra again, not that great for him, in that case, right? Because like his entire kind of slow moving army has to go all the way across the map. But it just has, come back down to, what is he going to choose to do now? Was it like a one-time thing? Was it just kind of like an interesting way to play, try and surprise your opponent with how quickly you're going to attack with it? Or is it, actually what he just feels is the only option against Terran players? Some people just really, they're just having a lot of difficulty. TVP is the one where like both sides are kind of saying like it's really, really tough, but TVZ, I don't know. I think the Zergs are having a difficult time.
Yeah, I definitely think so as well. But you know what, Midday, I want to bring it back to that quote-unquote unscoutable all-in. I'm wondering if we will end up seeing it.
Right?
I mean, this is like, I guess this is the time where you pull it out, right? Like, obviously this is the winner's match, so Midday could afford to like lose this, go down and try and like win it in the ace match, but obviously you want to be able to take it, move in like to the winner's bracket as the, I guess, the higher seed. I say that, but actually, ironically, from the sounds of it, Midday actually was totally fine not facing off against Intense in the semifinals. He seemed actually quite content with maybe facing off against JonSnow in the semifinals and actually being the lower seed. Weirdly enough.
Conspiracy theory. That's why he just GG'd. No,
oh, of course, yeah.
So one Reaper, Catalina, again, kind of that weird map where you can still get away with 2 or even 3 Reapers, but for most other ones, this was going to be 1. Very careful that, oh no!
Oh, that is not supposed to happen.
Oh, getting a little too fancy right there. Well, that's a bummer. That's a scouting unless he wants to scan, and no Terran ever wants to scan, so let's just laugh that off. On the other hand, though, Midday isn't really going to get scouting himself either, so, no scouting from the Terran, and any Overlord that Midday sends in, it should be picked off by these Marines.
Yeah, the first 2 Marines are now popping out, and I'm sure they're going to be on the prowl for those Overlords. They're going to be moving over to likely locations for them. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them also poke up around to the natural expansion and everything. But speaking of which, Kelazhur does have his natural expansion. He's looking to be in fairly, I guess, like standard mode. He goes up to the natural expansion. He gets up as command center of the natural expansion. He's going up to a starport. No 3CC or anything, but he's going to be able to try and put pressure onto Midday, which I think is something that he definitely does prefer to do.
Also, it's going to be a Cloakless Banshee. So last game we had him go 3CC, then a Cloakless Banshee, which is kind of weird. This game, like, Cloakless Banshee. It's just weird to see Cloakless Banshee in general ever since the price was decreased ever so long ago. But that is, I think that's really what it's going to try and go for.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that when he does do it, like, he's not getting like lots of, he always gets just like 1 Banshee and immediately is just like, okay, time for medevac production and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
it's very non-committal.
It is. I just feel like it's like in the middle when you really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Just like 1 Banshee uncloaked never seems to do a whole lot, unless it's just like. I actually can't think of a scenario that I've seen lately.
I wonder if it's just kind of like if they go for some kind of early roach attack or like, I don't know, like a Baneling Bust or something. It's kind of like just that I have air defense and I can kill off your Banelings and your roaches.
That's certainly a great point. It is like a Banshee opener, no matter if it's cloaked or not, is a great defense against most things, except, a fast 2-base Slayer, because then they're not that helpful against mutas, right? But it's just, you could, I don't know. I think that is exactly what it is, though, so, like, good call on that one. Just, I guess I prefer the cloaked Banshee. I don't know what it is. Midday actually preparing against the cloaked Banshee. It's actually in a position where this Overlord could have easily spotted exactly what was going on if he just moved over to the left a little bit, because the Marines aren't there, but, it's still over there. Could suicide him later.
Yeah, I mean, the sport calls are going to be enough to, like, ward off the Banshee. Obviously, he doesn't need, and this is kind of like the nice thing, right? Like, even if it is a small little cost, you still save a little bit extra money where the sport cars are probably already going to go up as soon as you see the Banshee, right? Because you can't take the risk, but Banshee already actually hitting some okay damage done, 3 kills.
Yeah, I was really worried it was just going to stay there. If he let it die, it's just like, oh, that was so useless. Why did you do that? But no, he saved it, and this is going to be great scouting as well as these Hellions that are sticking out in front. You know, Hellions really don't do that much damage with the creep anymore. I mean, it always talks about, like, you know, well, they're supposed to clear up creep. They're supposed to, you know, stop, you know, the creep from getting too insane. It seems that they don't really do that much anymore. Now with people who have, like, you know, 3 queens out there pumping out creep tumors, but you still want to keep them there. You still want to keep them a little afraid, and of course you wanted to know if there's any lings trying to attack you because you want to be able to defend your third. Your production is just now getting up, so when you take the third, you don't have a lot of Marines. A Link Swell could potentially, like, you know, take these units down. Actually, a surprising amount of Marauders going in here. Is he gonna do some type of push without medevacs?
No. That would be interesting, and you know, there are actually the Spires on the way. There's actually some Banelings now morphing in. I want to say almost kind of like surprisingly early Banelings. I don't know. I don't generally.
They could be later, right? Like if well, he sees a 3 base now, so he probably knows that it was a little too soon. But like 11, 12 minutes is usually when that attack happens that you got to make Banelings for. But yeah, you know, that's all right. Burrow also on the way. I like this choice. And I mean, it might be for Burrow Banelings. Everyone always likes that too. But, like, you know, just keeping Lings around the map Burrow has got to be the most annoying thing that no one ever does. No one.
I totally agree with you. It's one of those things where it's like you sometimes would see Zerg players do it, like back in the day and everything, and it's like, well, you know, the worst case is you're forcing the Terran player to throw down a lot of scans. So it's something that I always kind of like, but yeah, unfortunately you don't really see it too much. I think one of the big complaints, and I can kind of understand why it's not as common, like, or why I wouldn't even like to see it maybe on this map, is because all of there's not really whoa, what that Baneling just like walk up till, oh my god.
Kick-ass Baneling.
Yeah, seriously. But you know, all the chokes are really big, so sometimes it's a little bit hard to predict exactly where the army's gonna be to burrow the Banelings, but you know, if Midday feels like he can make it happen.
I just feel like burrowing one Ling in each common attack path away from your creep, because that's where they're gonna scan, right? And they'll never realize why, you know, where they're coming from every single time. They'll be like, I didn't have to kill a Ling to see this coming, like, what's going on? But so the large Marauder count, it's gotta be because he's afraid of roaches again. Which is not a bad call, but, you know, it's, you know, he sees Mutas now, he's gonna know that, like, you know, 2 Marauders at a time might be a little excessive. Marauders are never that bad, it's just, you know, usually one can actually do it, and you as many amount of Wood Mines as you can get up as well. These drops, though, I mean, the Mutas came out a little bit sooner than expected, but they're entirely out of position to deal with the drops, so.
Yep, drop's going to be coming in from the bottom side, and finally Midday has vision of it. Winner's Mutila's going to turn around, and immediately they just 180 and say, oh god, we're on the opposite side of the map. Drop's going to be able to unload. There are Banelings in the mix, though, over here for Midday, so that should help out significantly with the defense. Yeah,
just got to pick up and try and pick your losses and unload before the Mutas come back. There are a lot of Lings. Yeah, they're waiting for this, so this wasn't too well. I mean, well, the thing is that his army is also pushing up here, so he can save the medevacs and some Marines if Bruce wasn't on cooldown.
Oh man, losing the medevac that actually had the units inside of him. The other medevac also goes down. There's only a single medevac actually with this army right now, so Mutilis could actually go ahead and target fire that down. That's going to mean much harder to actually stem up, and yes, he does manage to get that, as well as some great Baneling hits, and it cleans up the army of Kelazhur.
Yeah, Kelazhur dips below 100 supply. I mean, just barely, only 99, right? But that's still a very scary point to ever hit in a TVZ at 13 minutes. This counterattack, he's actually going to kill him? Yeah. That's very disappointing end to the second game.
Oh man, Widowmines actually don't even get the chance to actually burrow and actually getting shots off, and the Mutals, they're kind of alone right now, but with the Zergling reinforcements, I feel like, yeah, you can keep pushing on in. You can actually start tamping on top of the Terran production facilities, and this is the position you never want to be in as a Terran player. This could be Midday's chance to even up that series 1-1.
It looks like it. He's about to, you know, double Kelazhur's supply, and that's not the greatest game from our Terran player after a very, like, hard-fought game last time. I think, you know, this game just tells Midday, go for the style again. You know, obviously Kelazhur's a little less well prepared for this as opposed to the Roach Hydra thing.
You know, I almost wonder that, but at the same time, I almost wonder if Kelazhur was, because of how game 1 went, is like a little bit paranoid. Like, we saw a lot of the Marauder production and everything. If he was just kind of over preparing for Roach play, and if it would end up going the same way in the next game, if he did end up doing the same style. Like, I'm not entirely sure about it, but I definitely see what you're saying. I think that Midday definitely finding a lot of success with this.
A lot of success. This is pretty standard all around, and he just had to attack.
Yeah, right. Well. Go figure. Standard ZVT gonna work out pretty well, and actually, it's sort of funny because Kelazhur has sort of said, you know, like the weirder playstyles and everything, it's something that he feels much more accustomed to. Just because he says, in his own words, because I know there are a lot of Brazilians and everything watching and cheering on for Kelazhur, but says, you know, the Brazilian server like the Brazilian players in that area, very cheesy players, so he feels like he's fairly well versed in like weird strategies or also just kind of like cheesy strategies. So, you know, maybe just playing standard, the answer to actually dealing with Kelazhur.
Yeah. Really, did not look that strong. I think there was also a bit of a case of preparing it's the wrong thing.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, so, you know, in terms of just like actual composition plus just the mentality, it's a lot different, but
well, we'll have to see exactly how Kelazhur is going to try and adapt, if we'll see him do in sort of different openings. I know one thing is definitely true, and that's the fact that he has really liked to put on aggression in the early game. He's really liked to not really go for like super fast 3cc or anything like that. He definitely wants to be able to make sure the Zerg player isn't really just kind of sitting back and dictating how the game is going to go. So I'm expecting to see a similar sort of thing coming out of, or at least a similar sort of theme coming out of Kelazhur.
Just a reminder to link yourself on TL.
Oh, right. The stream did end up going down, so sorry about that. Gonna go ahead and relink myself. But yeah, the next map is gonna end up being Deadwing. And I think we should be relinked now, so awesome. Let's go ahead and jump into it and introduce the players as we spawn up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. Top of the blue Terran player representing Team Pro Dolly. It is Pro Dolly's Kelazhur. Oh, there we go. Wrong scene.
Yeah. In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, its complexity is Midday.
All right. Once again, cross spawn positions. So.
Yeah. Not really, if Midday has found that, like, you know, okay, that standard play really worked out, so it's not really gonna favor Kelazhur. I gotta...
Go ahead.
I was saying, I'm gonna wonder if, like, Kelazhur can finally start mixing it up. Like, that Banshee opener, it's pretty safe. It doesn't need to add a lot, though. And it does, you know, somewhat mess up a otherwise very clean build. Like a regular 3cc, you know. So, is he do something different, like a 2-rack, or not a 2-rack, say a 2-base play, 2-racks right now. No, I'm just kidding.
A little bit late, but you know, just go for it. He'll never see it coming.
Yeah, the 30-second late 3-racks is pretty good.
Actually, no. You know, it'd be the ultimate mind game. Instead of you actually just go for like a CC first, but you do it in another base, and they'll immediately just go into your base. They'll be like, where's your stuff?
I'm like 9% sure I've seen Ruff do that.
He would be the player that does it, of course.
So, like, that's actually not even just, like, nothing really surprises me anymore, man.
Fair enough, but cross-spawn positions, again, I'm sort of just trying to think about whether or not it even mattered, like, where they kind of spawned last game, if it really came into influencing the game a whole lot. I don't think it really did.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because really why it isn't preferred by Terrans is that rally. There was no rally. There was Kelazhur trying to, like, you know, spring up on a fort that was already well defended, and then his army got crushed.
Yeah.
That's the end of the story. Yeah,
specifically, like, I would say when he tried to go for the drop, I want to almost say that he overstayed his welcome, but he didn't even stay that long. His drop just kind of got into a really bad position. It ended up getting cleaned up with both of the medevacs. One of the medevacs still having half of his units inside. And then immediately the push that was there to defend those units also ended up getting cleaned up.
Yeah, before you guys start saying, like, you know, like, wow, that was so bad, it is not great that he predicted something else and had, like, too many Marauders in the competition and, like, not enough Mines and all that. But can you imagine, like, you know, if Midday wasn't prepared, if he thought he was going to still play pretty greedy and, you know, didn't have Lings in position, that Blitz type of move where you automatically go out with the 2 medevacs, that is a big surprise sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you try and stim up to their 4th base. I gotta imagine sometimes in you know, his latter games, he actually gets a 4th and runs away before the Zerg ever reacts.
Yeah, and I think it almost goes back to like the thing. Kelazhur's not afraid to take those kind of risks, and that's why I really like the word that you used, the word blitz, because that's sort of what it felt like. It was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go for this, and I may actually catch him completely just unprepared for it, because it's like, why do you have this many Marauders this early on against like a Zergling Mutalisk kind of composition, especially after you've seen like Banelings and all that stuff.
I hope he doesn't make the same mistake though when he does actually play a very clean game, because that one was, you know, kind of awkward just all around.
Well, Zergling speed coming out from Midday. He's going to be able to deal with the Reaper and of course the Hellions that eventually I expect are going to be coming out, especially with the reactor there. But I guess one of those questions comes back to what you were asking before. Is he going to go for the cloak? And the fact that he has a second gas geyser going up this time, I feel like it's a little bit more likely maybe.
Interesting. Is he going to go for... He's not going to go for Hellions?
Oh, what?
Is it some type of Hellion push? Is the Hellbat rather?
Yeah.
Hellbat. So like you. Oh no! Oh, I know what he's gonna do. Obviously, okay. So he's gonna do the tank drop on Deadwing. I don't know why. I just never expect this from anyone but like Korean pros, like fantasy. But you know, you would use you'd use that position right there with the tank and a medevac.
Yeah, that is actually something. It's so weird because I don't actually see, like, I don't see it that often, but I'm sure that you've been actually casting a lot more games than me, in terms of like seeing a lot of those really awesome Korean players do this. But how well is it going to work out? Midday, I feel like this is something that he should at least be like aware of. He's the kind of player that is like up to date on kind of what's the happenings and. Huh?
Oh no, the Ling just gets in there and sees everything.
Oh.
This is always the worst. Like, I can't tell you how many games I've cast recently where like, okay, it's on 2 base. It really depends a lot on like not being scouted, and then you know, Ling walks in, and I'm like, okay.
It's like a siege tank, huh? I wonder what you're planning right now.
I wonder what's going on. So the first thing that Midday can do, besides scratch his head a little bit if he's not used to this, is break down the rocks. Now he seems to be answering this by going for faster mutas by getting this lair. This seems like a response, but that lair, the spire, is not going to be finished. The best thing he could have done actually is just start working on the rocks.
Yeah, I feel like he also should have, like, he's aware of, like, the possibility for this, because you can see, like, he has his Overlord's position right over that kind of low ground area.
Those should move. Those are gonna die. They're so slow. There's, like, Marines in there. So, yeah, there he goes. He starts working on the rocks now. Should have done it, like, immediately, though, and...
Yeah, this is gonna get a little bit awkward, because now the siege tank's gonna be able to unload as well as those Marines, and once they actually do unload, getting those Zerglings to knock down the rocks is going to be actually really difficult, honestly.
Gotta be careful not to get in range of the Queens. Okay, he's not. Oh, he is.
I think it actually is, yeah.
Okay, well, the Marines are actually taking care of them. So as long as the Marines cover the tanks, the Queens will not be able to take that down, but they were attacking the Overlords, as you can see, for a while, and they do take both of them down.
Yeah, Midday does look like he's at least prepared for the Overlords falling, does have enough supply still left over. Going to go ahead and start a couple more Overlords, of course, but now the natural expansion is being sieged up, and honestly, this is doing kind of its job right now. It's delaying that mining, it's killing off maybe a couple of drones. He's doing a good job with it. So
here's 2 ways that I've seen this absolutely be crushed. One, actually, I guess there's 3 ways, right? So, like, one, a break down the rocks where this ever happens. You know, immediately start chipping them down with the first 2 links that you have, and by the time that this push would ever hit, you're already defended. And if it doesn't hit, you didn't really lose out on a lot, besides you opened up a back door that's never going to be used, honestly. The second way is we've seen counterattack Baneling all-ins, you know, a lot of Ling Bane, and it just crushes them. They're getting up production, they don't have any Hellions. Kelazhur, though, I think is kind of expecting this possibility, has at least 1 tank here, so that's great. And the third option would be just like, you know, really fast mutas that they're not expecting. And you get some like return SCV damage done for how much mining time you've lost at the natural.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as soon as those mutals actually end up popping out, which actually still may be another like 30 or so seconds, he should be able to immediately be able to clean up that drop. But actually, Kelazhur going to press his advantage a little bit further, unloads the 4 Marines inside the natural expansion. Okay, yeah, decides against it, and just going to retreat back to Luger. I was thinking, like, if he loses those Marines, it's really, really awkward for that tank to actually just be there by itself. But I guess it's not really a whole lot that he can do about it until those mutals pop out.
You should really just pick up and go, especially after scanning that the lair is done. You got to figure the mutas are like somewhat on the way, especially because he also saw the timing on the Evo chambers. That's actually like 100% like, okay, mutas are on the way. They did not get upgrades before then, so he should just have like, gotten out of there. And there he would have had 2 tanks for any follow-up push. If he had gotten to Midday's third, the awful third, he would have sieged up at the third, and that would have been extra good too. But loses a bit out, loses the opportunity a little bit. Still has 1 tank back at home to use that for.
Yeah, does manage to snap off a single Mutal, so it's not a completely free loss. Does, you know, every little bit counts at this point, especially when that drop is kind of doomed to die eventually if he didn't move out with it. But now we end up seeing Kelazhur looking to try and establish that 3rd expansion with the Mutals, the Zerglings, and I imagine no Banelings actually. Okay, Banelings very far behind.
Combat Shield seems to have been forgotten by Kelazhur. Definitely, I think the most popular upgrade to forget for a Terran player, unfortunately. Like that, extend thermal lance, and some sort of hooks for the Zerg player, I suppose. This is 12 muted, or it was 12 muted, I think it's 11 muted now, but that is not enough to take down turrets, and the production, it's being halted right now. Those are the reactors.
Yeah, he's doing some good damage. Actually going to be able to take off a couple more of these Marines from Kelazhur, trying to stem up, trying to deal with these Mutals harassing, and honestly, there's not exactly a whole lot of medevacs out or anything of the sort right now for him to really continuously stem up his entire army. So I think every little bit of damage that Midday can do with these Mutals is going to be really good.
Yeah, yeah. As you can see, I mean, at 12, 30, 13 minutes, you usually be seeing a, you know, typical push to clear up creep coming along. Kelazhur is playing just a little more defensive, knowing that the Mutas are still, they're getting to a pretty high count. It's actually been kind of, people have stopped going for very high Mutas counts. They've only got up to like maybe 15 or 20, and no more than that at a time where they used to go up to like 40. All right, so I expect that to stop soon, and Kelazhur should be feeling pretty confident about moving out soon as well. Like, not too worried that the counterattack will be too dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to get up his kind of like final production facilities for a little bit. The extra barracks going to be added on. That's going to really allow him to crank out that army. And again, one thing that Kelazhur definitely does feel a little bit better about, I think, is sort of his macro, if you can move into the later stages of the game. But he does continue to try and want to put on that pressure going for the drops. And it's drops against a Mutals player. It's always a big risk. And I know that I've said Kelazhur willing to take those risks, but we'll see if it actually pays off.
It's usually a bad risk. You know, most of the time in TVZ nowadays, you are dropping to pull something out of position because your main army is moving across the map too. If you just drop, it's too easy to defend. You know, there's like, yeah, it's not worth it. So the Mutas are out of position, but there are still lanes on the other side of the map, and these are doing more damage. I think the drop will. We'll see though. It's about to land.
I mean, already killing off a couple of like medevacs, Marines, Marauders popping out, killing off reactors and everything else. The drop is now moving into the natural expansion, but actually it's right underneath the sport collar. Kelazhur notice. He does notice in time and does manage to save it, but the Zerglings are here, and so are the Banelings.
Yeah, and that spore crawler. I mean, that medevac really can't come back. It needs to heal, and it can't heal if it has to go over a spore crawler. So it's been a long time since I've seen Mutas actually deal so much damage to a Terran player. He's actually up to 20 with 4 more on the way, so they're taking a lot into this, as well as +2 flyer attack. You know, and the reason is that usually the Terran player is moving out and being very aggressive, so the Zerg player always feels like they can't be counterattacking. They have to have the Mutas to add that extra DPS to take down the medevacs or the Widow Mines before they fire. And you know, this is coming to a point where Kelazhur, you know, he might just be waiting to get maxed out. He's like, okay, if I push now, I might get swamped. So let me just get maxed out, get that like really great composition, and then go. And that does include Thor's, and he has yet to get a second factory.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering about right now. Like, he has a decent Widowmine count, but he definitely has to have some sort of answer to this Mutalist count, because it's, again, it is Deadwing, and I feel like that big map, that cross-spawn position, is going to start to come into a factor when he does decide, okay, let me max out and then push out. Because the Mutals are just going to ravage everything as soon as he tries to move out, unless he has some kind of amazing defense back at home.
Man, this is just not how TVC is played out anymore.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a blast from the past right now to see 31 Mutas with +2 flyer attack actually keeping a Terran back at home. 2 drops are going off, and this is actually this might do some damage. It's killing a lot of drones. Problem is that like, you know, while killing drones is nice, you're giving Midday so much more time because you're now putting with your main force that he's just gonna re-drone, and I don't think he's actually gonna mine that much. I mean, look at his bank.
Yeah, sitting on a 2,000 mineral bank, that's actually not going to be the biggest problem in the world. I think, honestly, what he's trying to do is pull the Mutalist back so that he has a little bit of breathing room, but Midday's actually just not falling for it. He's like, okay, that's fine. You can dance around with your medevacs. I'm actually okay with that. I'm just going to defend with Zerglings and continue to murder your own economy.
Yeah, it's almost like he's playing with them right now, you know? Not quite in a BM way, but just like...
Little zombie grub. There's no dance animation for Muddles that I'm aware of, so.
Dang.
I don't know, actually. Like, I definitely think Midday is in a really good position. I don't know if he's, like, so far ahead that I would just say, like, Midday's won the game or anything. But, you know, Kelazhur, he's getting close to that maxed out army once again, so he may be able to make something happen once he does finally get to that maxed out army. But I feel like he's gonna be in a very all-in position from that point, because the Beatles are just gonna be able to murder the third expansion, and then Kelazhur's got to make some magic happen.
Yeah, I just don't feel like he has that perfect composition too.
Mm-hmm.
He did get a second factory, but right now it's producing Widow Mines instead of Thors. At a time where people are getting 2 factories, you know, like around 12 minutes, it's really late to have this, and he's forced to go on to creep a very long. Oh god, the third.
Oh god, actually, Kelazhur, I thought he was moving across the map. I thought that was just it. I thought he was just gonna accept that the third was gonna go down, but he pulls back and now
There's just no way that like he, you know, both losing the third and not pushing forward, bad. Pushing forward and keeping the third, like, you know, losing the third, also bad. Like, you know, there's actually not really a great option here. Yeah, exactly. There's just too many Banelings. I feel like Kelazhur's gonna be swamped.
Banelings now rolling in, and Kelazhur yielded as the Terran that cannot split. He's doing a relatively decent job considering how many freaking Banelings there were. And amazingly enough, I think he's actually going to survive against the ground army. Okay, but the Muddles are going to be more than enough to clean up, and there is in fact still more Banelings left over.
Yeah. Down by 80 supplies. This is going to be last hurrah.
Midday playing a very, very strong game and a very strong series. Going to be able to take the third game. Just moving up on the series 2-1. And I've got to say, like, I really do think Kelazhur is a very strong player. Definitely one of the strongest in Latin America. But Midday, the game that he lost was... It was sort of like a weird situation, right? Where he like felt like he was ahead, but the problem was he just didn't have the transition. And then he went for that big attack move. That was on the map Catalina, where he went for the big attack move on the planetary fortress, and like it just got repaired and he lost his army, right? That was the way he lost game 1. But game 2 and game 3, he felt like he was just really in control of the game in the series.
Yeah. Like, the last two, like, I wouldn't even like bother really. Wait. Ask, yeah, okay. I was like, is it specified? Wait, yeah, like bother asking. I wouldn't really bother, like, you know, asking about that. You know, like what happened in those last 2 games. I really don't know what they thought about that first game.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're gonna go ahead and pull Midday into the call for the winners game interview, and see how he's feeling, because he actually does advance on now from Group B and is gonna go on to play Intense. So yet another Terran player. I don't know. Midday's ZVT not looking too bad. But let's see if we can get him on here. And do apologize for the production faux pas, as unfortunately this is all sort of just being done a little bit on the fly. Gonna have to rearrange some Skype cameras around, etc. Guys, do be sure, actually, if you are actually interested in any of these players or anything, give them a follow over on Twitter, and of course be sure to tweet at them as well. If you actually do so with the hashtag BreakingOut, NA, you can actually be entered to win a free Zergling plushie. But Midday, man, how you feeling? You just advanced on from Group B.
Pretty good.
Alright, so, man, I gotta ask you, because it was a 2-1 series, but after that game 1, you were looking pretty gosh darn solid. So what was going on in your mind in game 1 with the Roach Hydra play?
Game 1, this is what was happening. I'm winning. Oh, shit, Darren!
Yeah, man, that planetary fortress just refused to go down at the end.
When I went in to attack it, I'm like, this could lose me the game, but I'm already here, so there's like no going back. And then I was like, yeah, that just happened. All right, fuck mine.
All right, well, after that, we did actually kind of see you sort of switch back away from the Roach Hydra play, back into like old school Mutalist Zergling Baneling style. Like, would you say that that was more just a adaptation that you sort of did versus Kelazhur, or something that you sort of feel like you're more comfortable with in the matchup right now?
I didn't feel very comfortable at all, actually. And I was like, this guy will probably, this guy will probably beat me if I do that. So the first game I was like, may as well just Roach Hydra. And then it worked, but like it didn't at the same time. Like, because I lost a little bit.
Yeah.
But the second game, I was like, okay, well, guess I'll just go back to basics. And it worked. And then I was like, that was for, I mean, like, it was easier than I expected it to be. And then the third game, I was like,
Third game,
I was like, maybe I could get a Ling Scout in, and I like threw the Lings in, and then I
Yeah.
saw the factory with the tech lab, and next time I'm like, okay, last time I saw this, which was against Teja at Red Bull, I was like, I thought he was all winning me, and I thought I thought I needed fast mutas, so I was gonna go fast mutas, and then I saw the Starport 2 this time, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna build mutas. And so that happened. So like I didn't go for the moment I identified that, I just threw gases down, and then I was like, okay, mutas, here we go. And then it worked. It was something that I have a lot of practice with, and it's something that I would actually often do on that map. What I would normally do actually is get the mutas even faster, keep one drone in the gas, and then after I get 100, which is about 6 minutes, I just take the other 3 gases, take a late third base, which is very easy to defend because of the high ground. I can just prop a spine there, so he can't really do anything.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that because I wasn't as confident and I hadn't done it in a while. But yeah, it worked out, and it's good. It's good.
Fair enough. Well, congratulations, man. You get your dream, and you get to play another ZVT, actually, in the semifinals, playing against IVD Gaming's Intense. So how you feeling about that?
Intense to me, like, we used to, like, we both tried out for the Clarity Academy, actually. So this is like early 2013. And when we played, we would have back and forth games. Some games he'd win, some games I'd win. But I always felt like his mechanics were like slightly better than mine. But obviously that was like a year and a half ago. Now, technically my record against him is positive, but I do believe there's like build order luck involved in that. For example, I went 15 pull when he went 2 rags, and then he followed up with a Hellion Marauder all in while I went fast mutas. So it's like, what do you think's gonna happen? But he's very good. He beat Bales, Nimba, and I don't know. I guess it'll just go how it goes. I feel like Kelazhur and Intense are pretty similar skill levels. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right, sounds good. Well,
and sorry, I just gotta add this. I avenged my teammate Moose Skills, who was just eliminated from the 32 boys 1 Cup NA qualifier, who got defeated by Kelazhur 2-0. So yeah.
Well, I guess that is a nice little trade-off there, especially for you. But with that being said, dude, there's only one other player that's going to advance out into the semifinals alongside you from this group. Do you have any preferences on who you would like to see advance out?
Oh man, I'm not even gonna get started on that. But yeah, I'm not gonna answer that question.
Oh, okay.
Probably because of I'd probably get chastised by the community by what I would be saying. Holy crap, my autism is.
All right. Well then, congratulations again to Midday on advancing out of Group B, and we'll be seeing you more of you tomorrow in the semifinals versus IVD Gaming's Intense. Be sure to check out Complexity Gaming's Midday.
What time is that?
I'll talk to you later about that.
Okay.
Anyways, it should be in your Skype logs anyways. But regardless, be sure to tune in for that. That's going to be around noon Pacific, and we still have some more series coming up. So guys, don't go anywhere. We will be right back with the next series, the losers match, which is going to be, of course, Zan facing off against Kaifire. Don't go anywhere.
Zan the Beast.
Zan is the kind of guy you just want to hang out with. Laid back is probably one of the best ways to describe him. But don't think for a second he doesn't take StarCraft seriously. His persistency and ability to learn quickly are some of his greatest assets.
It's mostly being persistent and learning. I feel like I'm a fast learner. I learn a lot of stuff quickly. I don't know. I have the confidence where I know I can beat any player. As long as I'm not a Kesper Pro, I should be able to beat any player.
His playstyle is unleashing the beast. He puts on heavy aggression, sometimes even at the cost of macro.
I prefer to set the tempo and just keep attacking. I'll say this, like, I'll say my macro is really bad, but I know it's not as bad because I consistently can go to the late game. So it's not that I don't like playing late game, I really like it in TVZ. It's just more fun. Like, it's simply based upon what's most fun. And in TVZ, not only is being aggressive a lot of fun, I think it's also the strongest way to play.
Terran versus Zerg is his favorite matchup and revolves around putting pressure on the Zerg. None of that 3cc business. He's setting the pace of the game whether you like it or not.
I think it's my strongest matchup. It's the most fun matchup for me. I think it's the most exciting matchup. I mean, it's the best matchup when I think of StarCraft 2. I like to think of TVZ. So basically my style consists of being really aggressive. TVZ is best played being aggressive. Now, I know a lot of other Terrans might do 3cc and stuff. It's more unusual to see me do it. I can do it on certain maps, but I don't like having the Zerg player set the tempo of the game. Like, if I go 3cc, they might attack me, and I prefer to just be the one attacking.
Terran versus Terran is arguably his weakest matchup at the moment. The theme of aggressive openings continues to this matchup though.
I almost never take an early expansion just because I think it's weaker. Like, I can do it, it's just I don't enjoy doing it because I feel like the follow-up cast first could kill me and it would just be like, could make me frustrated. Mine drops, Hellion drops, those are a lot of fun. I used to do 2x Reaper, but not so much anymore. So that'd be pretty funny. I like the positioning of tanks too. Like, I like having siege tanks kill a bunch of units. You know, siege up on the natural and kill a bunch of stuff there. It's a lot of fun. And just, it feels like out of all the matchups, it's more like a chess game.
Terran versus Protoss is another matchup he's not afraid to be aggressive in. He feels he can always do some damage, but has to be wary of overreacting.
I kind of understand it. Basically, it just comes down to doing damage, and if you can't do damage, do an SUV pull, because late game is atrocious. Yeah, I mean, I basically do it all now. I mean, I can do one base attacks, which are uncommon, but still really strong. I've beaten a lot of players with them. Whereas, like, 2 base attacks are a lot easier to do. Mine drop, Hellion drop, standard play. Like, I basically do all that stuff, and then SUV pull if I want to. My biggest strength is always being able to do damage, or being able to take risks. This would be just losing to like an all-in or something that just like takes me off guard. Kind of like my scouting, or overreacting to something I scouted.
And that's what you need to know about the beast, Zan.
There's another huge force, and it's gonna take out this fifth.
Kai Fire, the Stormbringer.
Kai Fire is no newbie to esports. Playing competitively since 1994, he's done Quake, Unreal Tournament, Killer Instinct, and more. Despite not having the resources many others do, he has a great mindset for improvement.
If you play like the same person several times, you'll get an essence of how they play.
Yeah.
Like, let's take Rotterdam, for example. So we met and he's like, the first thing he says is, I'm sorry about those 11 gates with the Stargates and all those things. And then my response was, that's fine. I'm trying to do the build that's weakest to it, that's part of my staple style, and trying to figure out how to stop it. And he's like, that's a really good mindset.
But he's certainly earned his nickname, the Stormbringer. He's renowned for doing storm drops in every single matchup, something very few dare to even do. In general, he feels best when he can set the pace and bring it to the late game. And worse, when things get scrappy or all-inning. His PvZ is about getting to the late game while putting some pressure on the Zerg.
I like playing long, drawn-out macro games, but you can't let them get there unopposed. It revolves around like getting like an early and mid-game pressure or something. I've never figured out how to actually run timing attacks against high-level players. If I can get to 3 bases, I feel confidently I can pretty much take out anybody. And obviously, on the flip side of that, it's my biggest weakness is when people do fancy things and really draw me out of my own game.
His Protoss versus Terran is all about the late game while keeping on the pressure. Sometimes he struggles against players who can effectively keep him in the dark, though.
Unlike the PvZ, where you have to be up there and being aggressive, it's just an option in PvT. You don't have to really push in there and win the game at that moment. If the Terran doesn't come to you, you get 3/3 Storm and everything else, and then you come to them, and they're not going to be happy about that one. But you can harass with Warp Prisms and a variety of other stuff. It's one thing I always like, and it's like, all right, the Terran's moving out. or Prism flies in. You get a storm drop like 2 or 3 times out of the same Templar. You're obviously winning the game if you hit quality storms in their mineral lines.
Big surprise, everyone! Kaifire likes to bring his PvPs to the late game as well. And once again, his big weakness is scouting and handling early game aggression. If you can get past that, he's solid.
It reminds me of like my PvT nightmares to where I can't figure out what variation they're doing. There's another big weakness in PvP, and it's just the constant damage and the constant harass that the other opponent can do. If they play aggressive early game in PvP, they aren't as clean in the late game. They don't know when to transition into Tempest. They don't know the ins and outs of it. I see people will build cannons and they'll warp in and be alert. So it's just like, you got a cannon in your mineral line and the other side of the Nexus? Well, that's great. Storms can jump over that and not worry about it.
Yay! And that's what you need to know about Kaifire, the Stormbringer. Hello everyone, welcome, we are back, and we're here with Kaifire and Zan in the losers match. How are you two gentlemen feeling? Starting with you, Kaifire.
How are we feeling?
Yeah, how are you feeling?
I want to get revenge on Midday. That's how I gotta get through this.
All right, well, man, that's a pretty good objective because right now, Midday, he is actually going to be going to the semifinals. So first, you're going to have to get through potentially Zan and maybe Kelazhur. Yeah, actually, yeah, Kelazhur as well. But Zan, how you feeling, man?
Focused. I'm ready to win, so I want to play.
All right, well, I won't keep you guys
Impatient.
here for too long. Then I know that's also starting to get a little bit on the later side, so I'm going to try and keep these interviews as short as possible. But really quickly, I do just want to ask, like, do you guys have any kind of final words before we actually get started into the actual games? Zan?
Good luck.
Sorry.
Good luck. I want to
fun.
win. Yeah.
All right, ever the manner, guys. Well, best of luck to both of you gentlemen as we go ahead and get ready to jump into the games. So, gonna go ahead and boot you guys both from the call. And we are ready to jump into the next game. Go ahead and tell our admin that we're ready, and the first map is going to be Catalina, and it's going to be a Protoss versus Terran, so already getting kind of a nice little mix of pretty much every different matchup possible. Slowly approaching it. Alright, well, one thing I just will say, just like, as actually people were seeing in those recap videos, Zan definitely a more aggressive player, and actually kind of weirdly enough, I think that TVP, he's one of the Terran players that doesn't actually say like, oh man, TVP, I'm not feeling great about this. He's actually feeling, you know, pretty decent about it right now. He feels like he can always get some damage done, especially with his hyper-aggressive style. He actually hinted in his interview about one base all-ins that he's capable of doing, which I think is it's something that a lot of Terran players say, like, there's no such thing as a one base all-in versus a Protoss player. So I'm really interested to see what he's going to be throwing out. Kaifire, I think, definitely much more of a late-game macro player, though.
Yeah. Not sure about the one base all-ins, but he hasn't planned for that. But not surprising that if he's aggressive, that he'd find confidence in TVP.
All right, well, we'll see how this matchup actually ends up going as we spawn down here in the bottom side, or sorry, bottom left-hand side of the map. Catalina on top of the teal Protoss player is going to be Kaifire.
In the upper right, as the blue Terran, it's IVD's on.
All right. And, you know, whenever I think about Terran versus Protoss, I always think about the map and how exactly easy it is to defend a third expansion on this map, and what kind of third expansions you decide to take on this map, just because against drop play as a Protoss player can be really, really annoying to deal with. So how are you feeling about that, Zombie Grub?
Yeah, definitely agree. This is a pretty good starter map for Zan here. You know, hyper aggressive, lots of drops, lots of opportunities to do so. You can drop them. It's at the best positions. Again, that would have been Zan on the bottom if he really wanted to be drop heavy versus Kaifire. But he can definitely still, rally the medevacs around to there exactly, and then also go towards the third. So, again, it depends on where Kaifire wants to take the third, whether it's to the north or to the east of his main. But both are pretty. Both are actually pretty easy to snipe, honestly. Like, that gives you a good concave, and the one away to the north, well, it's just farther away from your main. And if they're dropping there, well, it's gonna be hard to split.
Yeah, it can definitely be very, very annoying, and it's it's sort of interesting if he does decide to take the one that's just to the east of his main. It's so annoying with the drops coming back and forth from the main base of the natural expansion, or the third expansion. But one thing I will say about Kai'Fire is that, again, kind of nicknamed like the Stormbringer because he really likes his storm drops. If we end up seeing that kind of come out in this game, I mean, we've already seen him kind of do some other wonky stuff today with carrier builds in game number 1 versus Midday, but, you know, if you go for High Templar in like a charge lot Archon sort of style, that is something that definitely can deal with drops a little bit more easily. Like Zealots with charge definitely can handle drops much more easily in some situations, I think.
Of course, the problem is that style as an opener has really just died down.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you can throw it in, and they might not scout it, so they won't have Widow Mines, honestly, to prepare. Because that is really why it has stopped being so effective.
Right.
Is people would just start rattling Widow Mines across the map, and they would almost always get more than cost-effective trades, even if they did die. So it was always worth it. So that's like it just seems like the meta right now, like Heart of the Swarm right now, just plays against Kai'Fire's want to do a lot of storm drop, which is too bad because they were always amazing to see. And Charged Archon is actually, I mean, Marine King versus Parting is probably still like the coolest TVP ever. Back when like that was really the heyday of it, but it's gone out of style now.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a little bit hard to do, but Zan actually immediately throwing down the reactor on that barracks. I think that actually may have been before the command center was thrown down. So what do you think is going on over here?
It's a little mistimed, I guess. I don't know. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, right? Because he still gets the 2 Marines that have a decent time. And he is going for a 3 racks follow-up, though. So instead of going for like, a 2 racks into a faster starport, or even just, of course, the Widow Mine drop opener, the Hellion opener, he's going for what is a lot of units, but a little bit later medevacs.
Yeah, that could actually be his cue to put on a lot of that early aggression and, do that kind of game where the Terran player tries to force out that early photon overcharge, and Protoss player is like, okay, photon overcharge is up. The Terran player just still dives in with all of his units anyways and kills a couple of probes.
Yeah. It's always painful. So, wait, did he actually get a Reaper? Yeah, he did. There it is.
Yeah,
there it is. It's running around the map, yeah. You see the Robo? Nah, I didn't see the Robo. So, still a little fear in the back of your mind as to what a Protoss player can be doing. You might expect, just from what you've heard about Kai'Fire, I don't think they actually play with each other that often, that he might be playing standard, but you always want to get a check. If you can see that Robo, it's almost, it's almost a guarantee it's a normal game. So I gotta worry a little bit about maybe a Stargate being squeezed in there as a proxy somewhere, but...
Yeah. I think one important thing to note about like Kai'Fire is, again, he is a player that kind of plays toward the late game. And I think that one thing that's sort of important to note, especially in this matchup, is that it's a matchup where Protoss can kind of say like, okay, look, if I want to go to the late game, Terran has to make something happen, right? Because the Terran players these days are the ones that are sort of having more trouble with the late game Protoss army. So I think Kai'Fire is going to be okay with not necessarily going for that sort of High Templar style immediately, but as an eventual thing, he can get up Colossus and then sort of transition out into that and feel good.
Yeah. We got a task force just meant to pop the photon overcharge. If it's popped a little too late, they can just stack themselves onto the probes, the natural. If it goes off immediately, the Marine just usually back up.
And looks like he's going to wait a little bit longer, and as you were saying, he's going to sacrifice these Marines. He's going to be able to kill off the Mothership Core, may even be able to get another Stalker as well, but Kai'Fire is able to get out of there with that one Stalker very, very low on health.
Yeah, we've seen, I mean, these are pro games, of course, so they're a little tighter, but we've seen like that the Mothership Core snipe actually be the difference between like a win and a loss. That 100 gas you have to replace with, because you just have to. You have to have the Mothership Core for future photon overcharges, and of course time warps at some points as well. Actually, dips too much into your Colossus gas, or dips too much into what should have been 2 observers is only 1, so you don't see the drop that inevitably comes in a PvT. It's really super important. We actually have Kai'Fire not going straight up to Colossus though, but going a War Prism instead. It's always a really risky move. It can draw the Terran army back, or it can be like a waste of the 200 minerals and not a faster Colossus if they push in immediately.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of starting to wonder, like, okay, this may be a little bit early to call, but I am wondering if, like, I wouldn't put it past Kai'Fire to go for something like a Colossus drop, maybe? Or if he's just gonna go for straight out with a War Prism. Yeah, he's gonna be boring old War Prism harassment. Which is fine. War Prism harassment is not actually boring. I'm actually just being a little bit too hard on him for that.
Yeah. Colossus, I mean, like, Colossus is just way too useful back at home. you
Yeah.
know, So.
It's such a big power unit that's like having two versus having one can seriously mean the big difference between like Terran army pushing in and just murders you and Terran army pushing in and suddenly they just get murdered.
Yeah, exactly. So this observer is in a pretty great position, not really, right over the army, so it's obvious that it's following him. But it will be able to see when the army pushes out, and thus when the War Prism should go in to take our Terran army back, which is, of course, kind of what it's used for right now. For instance, right now is going to be a pretty good point to send that unit into the natural.
Yep, War Prism maybe just gonna wait a little bit longer until the army gets further out on the map, so it has to make that unfortunate decision of, oh god, do I turn back? Do I try and deal with this now? And Zell's now gonna be unloaded over here inside the natural expansion. There are a couple of units over here for Zahn. So he's gonna be able to at least deal a little bit of damage to these Zelts and eventually clean them up.
Yeah, and production is very strong for Zahn, by the way. He did not go for a 3rd CC, but rather went for 5 racks, and has yet to put that on 3 CC, actually. So, lots more weapons coming in here, but this might be a mistake. If all of the army was able to get onto that high ground, unfortunately, there was a little bit of missed micro and just Kai-Fi responding in time, he might have been able to take on that army. With any type of good concave, there isn't a lot of, fodder for the Colossus, but luckily Kai-Fi was in perfect position.
And Kai-Fire is actually doing a really nice job with just like holding off those drops from really doing too much damage, but he's also invested pretty heavily into doing that War Prism harassment. I'm trying to see how much damage he was able to do. He hasn't done a lot of economic damage, but I do know it was taking Zen a good bit of time to at least finally clean that up.
Oh, awkward. This will start just barely seeing that observer.
Yeah.
He does have 2 more observers out in the field, which I really like. His Colossus definitely weren't the fastest. I mean, you got the War Prism and we got 3 observers, but seeing the army move, I think, is just like a lot more important. Sometimes it can bite you in the butt, but sometimes it's absolutely useful. For instance, right here, stalkers are in position. He doesn't know if Blink is done yet is the problem. So it's not quite, but he probably could have gone over those 2 stalkers.
Yep. Well, Zan just going to continue to try and poke and prod, see what damage he can do again, flying over that money observer. And oh, actually, he might have just spotted it as he unloads directly on top of it or directly underneath it. Maybe. Oh, maybe not.
Coincidence, I guess.
Yeah. Well, very unfortunate coincidence for Zan, of course.
Without a 3rd CC, I'm looking, making sure I'm not I'm not misseeing this. Without a 3rd CC, I would almost expect like a 2-base SCV pool, which is not what you usually do anymore. I mean, that was like, Bomb would do that like a year ago at this point. But all right, there is a 3rd CC on location actually, so not going to be the case. He could pull later, but Kai-Fire is already on the way up to, nice blink forward, all the way up to High Templar.
Yeah, and that is actually going to be the cue to make it very, very difficult for those SCV pulls to actually work. I mean, Psystorm, he definitely needs that to actually really, really make it an absolute crushing victory if there is an SCV pull, because obviously when Psystorm starts going down on top of those SCVs, they kind of just disappear, and you're like, oh, wait, did I actually... Where are all my SCVs? I thought I had them with me, but apparently not.
Yeah. I mean, there are SCV pools that do include ghosts. I'm just not sure if Zan's actually playing towards that, but he'll have to think about including ghosts just at some point, whether it is for all in or just, playing defending, because Kai-Fire is already on the way halfway up to Storm, and I don't think Zan has actually realized this yet.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, right now, the 3rd expansions are relatively evenly timed, so in a sense, like, it's okay, but the big problem in my mind, and I think it might be the same way in your mind, is just the fact that there's going to be like these 2 very, very strong tech paths out for Kai-Fire, with Colossus out in actually relatively decent numbers. 3 Colossus, it's actually enough to like at least force out like the Vikings to be there and make sure that they're actually actively target firing down those Colossus. But there's also going to be Storm, and Zan only has an answer to really one of those.
Did he not scan that army at all? Oh God. Wow. Okay, so that's pretty disappointing, because you really wanted to see those High Templars. You want to see how many Colossus there were and if there were any High Templars. And of course, if there are High Templars, he'd probably just go into attack.
Yeah. Nice pick up over there on the War Prism from Zan. Zan gonna actually move in over here to this 3rd expansion. Sees that it's not quite, the army's not quite in position for it, but he's still just gonna back up. Doesn't want to risk anything too crazy. Ends up losing a medevac or two though. He actually, look at his medevac count. That's his only medevac right now.
Yeah, it's a little odd. I actually meant to talk about it, but other things happen in this game about how when people are aggressive in PvT, there's like this, or TvP, there's this kind of new style where they actually don't go for a lot of Vikings. It's always been like the case where like 4 medevacs and then as many Vikings as you can get, and whenever you lose medevacs, you place them up to 4, but that's it. But people have actually been like going up to 8, and they've just been like, you know, going very Marauder heavy and taking on engagements and dropping everywhere and just being super aggressive. I kind of thought Zan would be that player. But actually just, you know, kind of the opposite, really pretty passive. You know, it was 5 racks before Command Center, but like, you know, didn't seem to do anything with it really. And while he has a gigantic army, there's no ghosts in it, so it's not really all that powerful.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, like you use the word passive, and it's, I agree with you, but it's almost kind of like he's been poking and prodding. He's been trying to do damage with drops and having his army out on the map, but he really just hasn't been able to make anything really happen. And obviously he's not going to commit into like a big army engagement or like, you know, a big drop that he feels like is just gonna lose everything in. So I kind of understand that he keeps pulling back, and it does look like a passive game, but I guess it is worth noting, like he's trying. He's just not able to really find a whole lot of openings right now, but this might be the big opening he needs.
Yeah, it looks like it. There's absolutely nothing. Oh, a big recall, in fact. You should just, I mean, that recall is worth it in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh no, one poor Marie.
Oh, poor buddy. Womp womp. Alright, so the attack can still commence though. I mean, he still has 4 medevacs, and actually all the Colossus jumped down, so never mind. 2 High Templars! Well, rip.
Yeah, get a storm down, and I guess actually, you know, normally I'd say like, well, they're just gonna heal back up, but honestly,
Not
well,
the case.
not that many Vikings out, but I guess there are actually a decent number of medevacs out now. I just don't know where they are.
In the drop, in the bottom left, right?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, he still has that going on. So the ghosts are not with his army, but the High Templars are really lagging behind, and he just, oh, this is actually going to be so fantastic. He's going to push in here, get the 3rd, and then drop is almost like,
Vikings.
Army in itself.
Yeah, Vikings now actually getting focus fire down by a lot of the Stalkers, though. These Colossus should be able to survive before they all get taken out.
Oh, kill that last one. Are you kidding me?
Oh man, that's actually so unfortunate right now for Zan. He does manage to get the 3rd expansion, and also he's dropping in the main base, as you were saying, all those medevacs down over there, and he is just doing absolute work over there. And guess what? There is in fact no Mothership Core over here for another recall. He's just gonna end up. He's gonna probably end up losing potentially his Robotics Bay. His Templar Archives may be in danger as well.
I wish he, yeah, okay, now he is starting to focus on buildings, but I really feel like he could have focused on all of those special tech buildings if he just, like, you know, focus fired. He actually was not really paying attention to the drop, and he does get out with actually 2 full medevac full of units, so actually most of it, so that's pretty nice. In fact, we'll be able to take on a couple of Blink Stalkers on the way down. Maybe that Colossus, not enough Marauders.
Yeah. He's gonna have to back out of there, although actually it looks like backing out is not an option anymore. Loses the medevacs, but you know, he's done some pretty gosh darn good damage, and of course, snipe out the Templar Archives is a very, very nice win. Has it actually been rebuilt? No, he actually hasn't started rebuilding that Templar Archives. I guess it's kind of hard to do so when you're all sitting on two base economy, 1 base economy. Yeah, 1 base economy that's barely actually mining right now.
Yeah, okay, there it goes. Definitely necessary. I just feel like Zan could have gotten, you know, that Nexus, Robotics Bay, Cybernetics Core, and both the Robos that he'd been focusing. But of course, there's a lot going down in that entire engagement. Now, it's a question, does Skyfire's army, the one that's, you know, it's been surviving. It hasn't really been losing armies and losing bases. Can it take down Zan's army? Can it win the game for him when the economy is, you know, such tatters?
Oh man, the EMPs are basically saying right now, no, actually. Skyfire immediately losing a couple of those Archons, and right now in this army, he does have a decent number of High Templars, so if he can keep those High Templars away from the EMPs, maybe he can land the Money Storms. Right now, Zan doesn't have the scariest army in the world besides those ghosts. But if these bunkers get up, it's going to start to change. It's going to start to become a little bit harder.
Skyfire is, you know, he's buying a lot of time, though. Zan does know that he's on a 4th base, but the 3rd has finished up again. He's starting to replace all those probes he lost. He's at 46, which really isn't that bad. So this didn't have to be the end game. It wasn't like the drop was continuing. Yeah. So he can actually pull back from this. He's scaring Zan, which is actually pretty effective in itself.
Storm going down. Unfortunately, Viking is not quite in range of it, and Ghost managed to snipe those guys off. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. I mean, right now he's managed to catch up. I think he was down to like 35 or so probes, and now back up to 51. And as you were saying, has a 4th expansion actually, which actually A little bit further ahead of Zan, who has his 4th expansion built, not quite mining though.
Yeah. The upgrades, by the way, is a, wow, I didn't realize this, but only 3-1 for Kai Fires. Chargers are very manly, but they kind of swing like babies right now.
Well, actually, he ended up
There you go.
losing. Yeah, he ended up losing the Forge that was researching +2 armor in that, or sorry, +2 weapons in that drop. So you have to restart that. Yeah.
So now it's 3-2 versus 2-2-1. Oh, big storm goes down.
Softens up a lot of those ghosts as well as the Vikings, and now he decides to push down in. Ghosts actually going and throwing down some big EMPs on top of the Archons and Immortals.
But they died. They died. There's still a lot of storms left. And
Oh my god, that was disgusting almost. And now
Marauders are so bad. The medevacs get back here and heal. We're getting the there you go. Getting the bunkers still there.
oh my god, the medevacs are so low on health right now that they actually can't afford to be at the front lines trying to heal up those units. And actually, it looks like Kaifer gonna be able to charge on through those storms. Definitely living up to the name. Kaifer taking game number 1 versus Zan. And oh my god, I would say that, you know, I was worried for Kaifire. I felt like he was going to maybe be a bit behind, but as you were pointing out, like, he was managing to buy himself a lot of that time, get up to 3rd and 4th expansions, but I thought the game was, like, even around that point. But then that engagement happens, and he lands those, like, ridiculous storms on top of the army toward the end of it, and that was a game changer.
Yeah. Terrans have a way of overestimating EMPs. EMPs are like amazing, so it's not like, you know, Protoss have always, you know, they're complaining for no reason about how powerful EMPs are. They are powerful, but there's like this thing where, like, you know, if you get good EMPs, if you're like, wow, that blanketed the army, I'm gonna win, and then you realize, well, you missed like actually half of the charge lots, and actually there's still like 5 storms left, so they weren't really that good, and you you kind of get them that a tunnel vision, and you know. He really wasn't that spread. He got good EMPs at first, but no spread. Taking a lot of splash damage from the Colossus before they went down. Could have been a much better fight for him.
Yeah, and just speaking of spread, like, it's not something you think about it that often, but Protoss player being well spread out with his entire army, Kaifire was basically taking up an entire, like, ridge as he was coming down. So he was actually able to really spread out his army, and a lot of EMPs were thrown down. But as you were saying, yeah, like, things get kind of missed out on. The charge lots are already charging forward, so maybe the EMPs miss over there and everything, but it does make it a bit hard to throw down all the EMPs on all the vital units. And of course, even like an Archon or 2 snipping by or not really quite getting EMP'd does add a lot of tankability to the Protoss army. Regardless, Kaifire are going to be able to take that game, but I almost feel like it was more through like that final engagement that was allowing him to like really secure that victory, rather than, you know, dancing around, like doing, I guess, the thing that we were talking about, or I talked about so much of, which is Kaifire doing Storm Joust, which we actually today still have yet to see. Well, we'll see if we're going to see it in this game as we spawn up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, on top of the blue Terran player representing IVD Gaming. It is IVD Zan.
In the bottom left, as the teal Protoss, it's Kaifire.
All right. Nimbus is going to be the map. There's, of course, a nice little in-base expansion on this map. But, you know, in this matchup, sometimes in-base expansions, not actually that safe. Especially if you're up against a player like Zan, who's really shown that he really likes that drop aggression. Going to be a very, very annoying prospect for Kaifire. But on the other hand, I guess Zan might feel a little bit safer with that in-base expansion. You don't have to worry quite as much about early shenanigans coming up at your front.
Yeah. Question is anyone going to change up their build right now? You know, as you said, that last game really, it wasn't like, you know, oh, Widowmine got a good hit and it was a come from behind victory. You know, it was actually pretty even despite, you know, really high aggression towards the middle. And then it was just like, you know, a bad fight for a Terran player, which, you know, happens, you know, of the best of any race, really. So there's not really much to dissect in that necessarily, but there could be just, you know, some thinking along the lines of like, well, I think I could actually get some damage done by Widowmines. I think I get like that early lead. I didn't really like playing out that game that long, which most Terran players don't want to.
Yeah. I think also another thing is just the fact that Zan, again, he was like hyper active with trying to get drop damage in. And obviously, toward the end, he finally did manage to get that in, but it was like very late in the game. So I wonder if he kind of says like, okay, that I don't know if that's like going to happen again. Kaifer, like, he had like he had Stalkers always in preparation, like in a good place to try and defend against the drops, ward them off. Like, he's splitting up his army and everything. He had Photon Overcharge ready, etc. I kind of am wondering, like, if Zahn still decides to be hyper active with the drop play. That's the kind of mix-up that he says, like, maybe I don't need to be quite as active with the drops.
I don't know. There are some players that will just be the super passive Terrans. You might see like, wow, you really can't do this against a Protoss player, but then suddenly they're at like 200 and the Protoss players don't like 140, and you're like, huh. This happened. That can certainly be the case, but Zahn just really doesn't sound like he is the type who even wants to play like that. Even if it was like the best style he could ever play, and he's like actually like magic talented at it, he wouldn't want to. He wants to be aggressive and like hype runes like that.
Yeah, definitely. That's the kind of style that he has fun with. So now I'm kind of wondering, like, along those lines, more what I was thinking was any kind of aggression that maybe doesn't require a drop. Just I'm actually starting to think about like Masa style, like let's just make a ton of units and sure, you're gonna have Photon Overcharge, but I'm gonna deal a ton of damage regardless. And you just follow up almost like parade push style, say like you're not gonna get up a third expansion, just constantly moving units across the map, not necessarily through drop play.
Well, we do have a little bit of a change up here. Zahn is gonna go for that factory, so he's got the guys in gas, and unfortunately I don't believe Kai Fire was, the probe usually doesn't last that long, usually the Reaper takes it out, but it would love to see if the guys are still in gas after the 100 gas. One, Reaper and Reactor, and then they usually take it off, only leave one on. If they leave all three, you guys aren't worrying about factories. And then the question is, what type of factory play? Is it Hellions, which aren't really good on Nimbus, because there's obviously only one way they can get into both bases, so that's usually pretty easy to block out. Or is it gonna be Widow Mines, which are a lot better because, hey, Kai Fire's like natural is like right there. Like that's a straight shot that medevac. It looks so juicy.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see some of the Widow Mine play coming out. We'll see. Reactor finishes up and Hellions.
This is okay. This is like, so I just went over like how like there's one entrance and it's a very small entrance. Like you just need 2 stalkers or 1 force field, and you stop all of the Hellion aggression. That's the drop, which could still be a drop, right? But like there's just no one ever does. So. It's like, it's so obvious, and it's like, it shouldn't work, but no one ever has the 2 stalkers at the front. They assume they're going to be worrying more about the drops than anything else. So the Hellions do get in, and if they get in plus the drop gets off on the natural, it's a headache. It's a big headache for the Protoss to deal with.
Oh, definitely, especially if you're not like really anticipating or expecting it. I'm actually really happy because I'm pretty sure I saw Drunken Boy in the chat earlier on, or I think he might still be there, and I know this is something that he really does like to do. And he's kind of shown that, you can get a lot of really awesome damage done with this. Medevac now going to be popping out. And of course, one of the big questions on my mind is I've seen some variations of this. Sometimes you load up all the Marines in the Medevac. Sometimes you load up the Hellions in the Medevac. But he's going to go with the Marines in the Medevac and go ahead and go for the drop over the natural expansion. Well, as you were saying, Hellions try and run into the main base.
Yeah, not sure why they're not running over right now. I'm just waiting for their final 2 buddies, and now they're gonna go across the map. Kai Fire's observer will see this. Maybe. Oh, they actually won't. They're not gonna go past the zone just in case there's a probe having controlled. I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, the longer that he keeps his opponent in the dark, like the more likely he's going to be able, as you said, just run those Hellions straight into the natural expansion or the main base. And you can see over here, Zahn, he's already just pulling those units over to the main base.
Kai Fire's not figured this out. Oh, you know what? If he finds them, if he actually, okay, never mind. I thought maybe he's gonna draw the stalkers in and just attack the stalkers straight up, which is definitely possible, but actually does go after the probes. The probes are being pulled. Oh, they're being pulled into a line now, though.
10 workers have already gone down. The Marines adding in some extra DPS, and at this point, he actually just has enough Hellions that he can go after these stalkers. He's actually dealing a lot of damage to these stalkers. It may not look like it, but the splash damage. Oh, the Mothership Core. There's no Photon Overcharge thrown down on the main Nexus. It is on the natural expansion, though.
Oh, that's why he didn't go through the natural expansion. Good call. But like those 2 Marines, I think Kai Fire thought he took down the Marines, but hey, surprise! And 4 Hellions are still alive, and that
oh my God,
oversaturated.
He's just going straight after the probes. He doesn't even care.
It's a couple of good shots. Not the best that it could have been, but still, he's already done so much damage. He can continue to do more.
Oh God, another couple of good shots, and goes up to another 5 workers killed, and then I think he's now borderline approaching 20? 22 workers killed? Oh my God, the Hellion actually still alive and still roasting a couple more. Okay, this is definitely paying off for itself.
Yeah, it's so awkward to see a Colossus run in there, by the way. Usually they don't start the Colossus, they're warping in as much stuff as they can, so the Colossus is like really put off, but it just like walks into Hellions, like, what's going on? Oh, hey, all the probes are dead. I'm so helpful. Thank you.
It's like, awesome, I have a Colossus. Now, you know, once I actually repair my economy, I'll have another Colossus in 10 minutes or something ridiculous
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Yeah, this observer is going to go in here, I think, seeing what the defenses are like. Zan does have a bunker, and his production is actually not that bad. On 3 barracks, it's okay. And just like Marauders actually make up for what is a lack of Vikings right now.
I think even just that bunker and the way that the Protoss army would have to move up that ramp. Oh, sacrificing a couple units over here. Obviously not ideal, but I think that still Zahn should feel just fine with the bunker over there. Maybe he has to pull a couple of the SCVs just to repair the bunker, make sure he doesn't lose too much over here. But the destructible rocks make it so awkward for Kai-Fire to try and push in over there. I like the fact that he's trying to just do whatever aggression he can, especially with the Colossus over there.
He's got to be careful. This is actually a point where I think Zahn could go and push down and take this on if the force fields weren't there. No, luckily they are.
Yeah, he does also have stim though, so I mean,
He keeps scanning, I think, to take out the observer, but isn't any Vikings actually like reach it? Ugh, it hurts.
Well, 2 Vikings about to pop out, and that's going to definitely put an end to this aggression just because I think Vikings on the high ground versus the Colossus should be able to push them back and stop that kind of annoying little harassment pressure. Stalker's actually walking up that ramp to...
Oopsie.
Bit of a miscontrol there, but you know, Kai-Fire, again, he's being aggressive on the other side of the map. He's kind of buying himself time to like recuperate those probe losses, use all of his chrono boosts over at home, and guess what? If he knows that the entire army is sitting over there ready to repair those bunkers and just try and defend, he knows that he's not getting dropped back at home.
Yeah. Which I think is actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Suggesting, you know, things for Zahn to do. He doesn't have to be so careful anymore. And there he goes. Drop is loaded up. Double drop is loaded up. It will go not quite past the observer. Actually, that is going to go unscouted. Kai-Fire, though, I think he should be like well aware that continued aggression should be happening soon. It's obvious that he's left the containment, so, you know, put the stalkers up in a natural. Please, sir. Please. Okay, well, this observer will see it, I think, and then he'll definitely move them.
Yeah, observer gonna get very nice vision of that drop, and well, scan going down. Oh god, and actually, that's almost one of the biggest tells, anyways. Is whenever you see a Terran player scan, you're like, where's the drop gonna be coming in from?
Exactly. But the drop gets unloaded, and these stalkers can't deal with it when it's already unloaded.
Yeah, Colossus is gonna have to come in the mix and help out a little bit, but look at that. Zan picks up and doesn't lose. Oh, he loses 1 Marine, but not the biggest loss in the world. He kills 5 probes. Guess what? Those 5 probes actually a pretty big deal right now, just because of how little of an economy Kai-Fire has in terms of how many probes he's already lost previously. Well, Widowmine's gonna throw into a nice location over here, and the army is actually at the natural expansion. This is actually really awkward. Kai-Fire not really reacting to this. He's just gonna end up losing more and more probes. He's down to 24 probes.
I like the idea of losing a Colossus. It was seen, but the Vikings aren't really, you know, well, okay, it's going on anyways, so never mind. Exterminate just finished, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he couldn't really afford to get a thermal lance a little bit earlier, but yeah, drop in the natural expansion, drop in the main base as well. He's going to end up losing the drop in the main base, but he has cleaned up more than enough Colossus as well as Sentry. He's going to potentially even be able to kill off this natural expansion. The Manor Mule getting called down, and it looks like Zan is going to be in a great position to just tie up this series.
Yeah. His 3rd command center is finishing up into an orbital command. He has his production going. One thing he hasn't really gotten onto is upgrades. That could definitely be fixed very soon. But Kai-Fire down to 55 supply and only on 1 base. He's got to realize that nothing has happened in this game to make him like think like, okay, maybe Zan's also in a bad position too. Nothing has happened.
Yeah, at this point, I feel the fact that Kai-Fire's still in the game just tells me, okay, at this point, pull everything. I mean, you're basically on a 1-base economy of 3 gateways. Let's see what we can make happen. We have the proxy hunt on the other side of the map. Might as well just go for it. But honestly, just with the units that Zan has out on the map right now, I feel like he can take this army on. And yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. Zan going to be tying up the series 1-1. And showing that, you know what, he can make the aggression happen and work pretty gosh darn well. I think that was an example of successful bits of drop aggression as well as Hellion aggression.
Yeah. Not to take it away or anything, but you know, there's also a big problem with Kai-Fire not scouting it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard to, right? Like the observer was not going to make it to the main base, but you know, so that wasn't going to be a scout. Sending out another probe in probably isn't gonna work. So it is a hard thing to scout, but
he also did kind of open up, like, as if I recall correctly, like, one gate robot, which, you know, it's fine and everything, but then going, like, straight into, like, the fast Colossus for the robotics bay and everything on a fairly low warp gate count. It's one of those risks that I think that build is very much capable of punching. Because you think about it, even if his stalkers were at the natural expansion ready to intercept that drop, again, the Hellions run free and rampant over in the natural expansion. Or sorry, in the main base, I should say. I keep getting those flipped up because I'm like, well, the Hellions are running in and the drop is coming in. So normally you'd expect the drop coming in the main base. But anyways, that map is weird, so it gets flipped around. But regardless, it does become a little bit hard just with the sort of playstyle and the build order that Kaifar decided to go for. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get ready to jump into the next game, Merry-Go-Round, a map that I honestly really think is actually pretty damn nice for drop play.
Yeah. Good. I was like, okay, so this is how is it done? Like vetoes and then...
So it goes vetoes, so we flip a coin, decide who's going to be vetoing first. So both players get to veto 2 maps. And then it goes, you know, first person to veto gets to pick the first map, game 2. And then the last map is actually just decided by whatever map is left. And Merry-Go-Round was the map that nobody felt like it was worth vetoing, nor worth picking. So we'll see how it ends up going. As we spawn up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, Merry-Go-Round on top of the red Terran player representing Team IVD. It is IVD Zahn.
In the bottom position as the teal Protoss, it's Kaifar. So, all right, so that's a little bit of bad luck, right? Like, obviously they both thought that other maps were more of a threat, but honestly, to have the 2 maps that are probably the best for dropping in a row.
Yeah, okay, well, to be entirely fair, I agree, like, they're definitely really good maps for dropping, but I think it's been a very commonly said thing these days is that the current ladder map, it kind of does favor Terran a little bit right now.
It does, yeah.
So, I think it's hard as a Protoss player in that situation to deal with the map pool anyways. But that is sort of just the luck. Maybe Kaifar should have gotten in an earlier season.
I mean, like, you know, there could have been, like, Nimbus, Deadwing, right? Because it was, you know, Catalina's great for dropping, and the third's a little bit hard to take. Nimbus is, that was the last map. So Nimbus is, easy for dropping, but, you know, an okay third to take. Yeah. So that was probably his, like, best bet to take into the long game. And then we're back to, a good drop map and a hard third to take. So this is just not a great setup for Kaifar, honestly. And let's see if he does anything specific because, you know, he realizes that.
Yeah, I know this map especially, like, it's the 3rd expansion again. That's why we're talking about, like, these drop plays being so effective. And I know it definitely influences the way a lot of Pro players play it out in PvZ. Not as I feel like it influences it a little bit less in PvT, but it definitely can influence deciding like where you decide to take your 3rd expansion. A lot of Pro players may opt to take sort of the expansion that's not just on the low ground of their main base, because if that happens, it's like the drop is over, or like the push in is over the 3rd expansion. Oh, your army's coming in around in, the drop moves straight up into your main base, and your army has to walk around this very long journey around the cliff, up your natural expansion, up to your main base, and back over. And if you see Kaifar playing on that kind of low gateway count again, I guarantee you that's going to be something that Zan is going to be looking to maybe exploit.
Yeah. I feel like, in one, okay, so drop, pretty good for this position, although Zan's not going to do the same drop that he did last time. But getting a 3rd, I think, is a little bit better. Unless he gets the one that you just pointed out, which is like the one north. If he takes the one to the east, like that is farther away, but not towards your opponent, so like medevacs have to go around the map to get there. And also an SCV pool doesn't just come at your 3rd, right? If Zan is like in the upper right, the SCV pool actually just goes diagonal right to the 3rd, and there's a big concave. Here, he has to go past the natural, which is awkward, and then to the 3rd. So we see a lot of like, if he does a CV pool, like sentry blocking. Like they decide, okay, I can't go to the 3rd. I go to the natural instead, and then the sentries block me out, and it kind of fizzles out from there. So we'll have to see if that actually comes to that point. Dan, so far, not the most eager to do the SCV pool in that first game.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like Zan isn't the kind of player that wants to put, like... I say this not really with a whole lot of, like, information on, like, oh, I know that he doesn't really like to do SCV pulls, but it's sort of just... He doesn't really strike me at that. Oh my god, this Reaper, actually, getting a great scout off. And I feel like you must have gotten some sort of intuition on, okay, what exactly is in your base on, and maybe just seeing that everything was basically powered up by one pylon. Maybe was expecting that there was that proxy Stargate.
Yeah, 2 gases taken, yeah. He might have also seen the probe go off in a weird direction with the scouting, I'm not sure, but the point is that he did find this, and this was a specific way to kind of combat the difficulties of this map. If a map is difficult, like, you can all in on it, or you can try and do something early on that gives you just a little bit of an edge, and a proxy oracle would certainly have done that to get him to a better mid-game.
Yeah, this might not seem like actually the biggest deal in the world, but the Reaper does get away, which is actually very, very annoying, because guess what? That Reaper can actually just move back in if he so chooses to go after the pylon again as soon as the units move away, but actually doesn't look like he's going to do that. He's actually, you know what? I actually like this equally as much. He's going to just go straight over to the main base and see what damage he can do.
Yeah, well, it's also, I think, seeing if it's going to be an all-in. Kaifer doesn't really, you know, again, doesn't mark me as the type to do the Oracle and then, like, you know, all-in or Oracle Voidry all-in or anything, like, really super Protossy like that. But it's always a chance, so... Oh, dear God. Oh, that's terrible.
And this was actually not like a light pressure Oracle necessarily. Like, it definitely... Ooh, and Repair getting off the last second, but I mean, he did delay his Nexus to get up that Stargate. This is a much more committed Stargate play. Yeah, he has the Nexus going up. He can actually follow this up, but he's delaying a lot to try and get up that Oracle, and well, we're gonna have to see what the response is. The Reaper actually gets surrounded over here. Unfortunately, Zan not paying attention for a second. Maybe just still a little bit wary about like a follow-up Oracle coming in or something. Not really paying attention to the Reaper.
Yeah, well, engineer bays or turrets have already been made, so a follow-up Oracle is no longer a big deal. He will want to go and destroy the pylon just so there's not a proxy pylon on the map, but the Stargate's no longer scary.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very rarely. I think I've seen like a one game where like the Stargate just never gets killed off. It's like 30 minutes into the game, and then they decide to like make another Oracle, and they're like, well, I guess this is still alive. I'll make another Oracle and start throwing down Revelations. But yeah, Zan not gonna let anything like that happen. Goes ahead and moves across the map while it's still safe. I mean, he kind of knows, like, look, if you went through the Oracle this early on, probably don't have any tech or like anything else. I can move out with my Marines on the map. I basically have total map control right now.
Yeah. He can leave one Marine, just take that down eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Just chooses to let it go. No big deal. I really hope this doesn't become a case where Zahn just moves in with what army he has and Kaifer just can't defend. Kaifer is trying desperately to get up to Colossus, getting that splash. Oh, wow!
Oh, man.
Wow, did not, like, I'm with Kaifer on that one. He's probably like, what, who puts the turret, what?
Definitely covering all kind of advantage points over there. And I guess, I don't know if that missile turret was planning to do something like that, just like the mind game him, or if it was like trying to cover the add-ons. But either way, it ends up taking out that second Oracle, and no more Oracle's going to be on the way. But at this point in the game, Zan has a relatively high number of Marines, but still no medevacs, still no starport actually on the reactor. I guess he's just now getting that. But as you were saying, Colossus finally starting to come up.
Colossus has to be in perfect position though. It's not going to have extended thermal lance, so if a drop gets down on the in the main base, I'm not even sure Kaifer could defend even if his whole army was there, much less if it's split up trying to defend somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, just low gateway count once again, still on 3 warp gates and slowly warping in, but I mean, he's also getting up a Twilight Council behind this, and getting up thermal lance. It all costs a little bit, and oh man, Marine actually gets really far in that main base.
I don't know about that Twilight Council so fast. I think he might be trying to get up to like really fast Storm too, or maybe just Blink to take care of any Vikings that are coming. But it's just like, you know, you do not have a lot of stuff, and you're investing in even more tech. Yeah, it is Blink, but I don't know. That's not going to be an investment that helps you right now, you know. And right now is actually what's important.
The Marines actually and Marauder actually moving into the natural expansion. Photon Overcharge goes down, but there's just a little bit too much for just Photon Overcharge to deal with this. There is actually no medevacs in the mix just yet. Medevac now boosting in to try and help out these Marines. These poor Marines actually getting murdered over there.
Oh, wow. Thank God Blink isn't done, or that medevac would have been dead. That one actually had to boost forward, so it might die here. And in fact, it does. A very awkward attack from Zan, a little too overconfident, because, like, it was only because there was a ramp and there was a time warp that army did not just, you know, take down a bunch of Blink Stalkers or regular Stalkers with it, and now it's a barely alive medevac drop coming into the natural.
Oh my God, Zahn is actually so ballsy. He's going to go back in with a 15 health medevac. I'm pretty sure. I mean, medevacs are armored, right? They take 16 damage versus a Stalker, right? Like, the medevac gets one shot by a Stalker.
Pretty sure. pretty sure.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't, like, you know,
That's
it's 2 shots.
two
okay,
shots.
big deal.
Okay, big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, he does go in here, and it's going to be unscouted. The photon
Oh my
charge is
God.
done, and the militia core is not there anymore. So we'll get some free probe kills. Like, how free is it, though? Is he going to get out in time with that the one-hit medevac?
I think
No.
he just sacks the units and just
it's
targets fire
2
down as many
medevacs.
probes as possible.
He does. That was 2 hits.
Ah.
Oh, look at that. Okay, so he gets a couple of probes. That's nice. He's down to 33, so a 16 worker lead plus mules, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
And now the Viking count's starting to get up there a little bit, replacing those medevacs as well. It looks like he was really afraid of a 2-base Colossus on, and I don't blame him for that. So he can now salvage those bunkers if the timing has passed.
And in the meanwhile, we can see Kai-Fire kind of saying, okay, I need to just get up another unit that is going to help me defend against any kind of big aggression while I take the sword expansion. Gets up to Templar Archives, or starting to. Single Widowmine just walking his way over to the 3rd. Maybe hoping to find a probe transfer, but there is, in fact... Oh!
Wow.
Oh my god, is he going to get out of there? No. No, okay.
No.
Blink Stalkers are like...
Oh, no. He's actually going to
What?
like it.
Oh my god. Best
All right,
Widowmine
then.
ever.
That's a great one of mine. By the way, Kai-Fire, I mean, he was able to get to a 3rd Nexus, something I did not really think to do so easily, but after that initial attack just went south, he immediately slapped it down.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great response. He also was having a good enough time to get up to Storm, and I do not think Zana's going to expect this. He's thinking, like, okay, that might have been the best push in right there, but I'm still probably pretty ahead, right? If he's going to face Storm unexpectedly, that's a big deal. Storm can really bring you back into games.
Yeah, I think my big concern right now is that the Storm is actually not going to be finished up in time for this push in. I mean, we can see that Zahn's going to poke it over here. This is obviously not enough units to deal with this army, but at the same time, he has the double medevac drops ready to move into the main base, and guess what? There's actually nothing over there, and oh my god, if he actually notices the Templar Archives is reaching Storm, he can target fire it down and just go for it.
Oh, he definitely should. Oh, he definitely should. Actually goes for the Robo. He may do it at both, though. Not sure. The Colossus are on the way here.
Oh.
The Blink Stalkers come in. Might still be worth it just to target it down.
He's going for it. It's going to be really close, and Storm is not going to finish. Oh man, now Kai-Fire actually losing both of his big splash damage tech buildings. And that is actually unbelievably painful to lose out on. Luckily, he didn't lose a robotic space, so he can remake the robotic facility and immediately resume their Colossus production. But god, that is actually still a really painful loss.
Yeah, he didn't lose any army either, so he still has
Yeah,
a
that's
sizable
true.
army, and I guess these are always going to be good for feedbacks and Archons until that Storm does finish. But Zahn, of course, not only does he get that, but he also scouts it, you know? So he
Yeah.
knows to put on a Ghost Academy. He knows that Kai-Fire is going to try and depend on good Storms to win this game.
Templar Archives going back up, and it's going to be in a slightly safer position for this medevac drop, but it comes back in, and this is what we were talking about. That it's so hard to deal with the medevac drops on this map, and Kai-Fire, he's trying to blink forward, he's trying to get into a position, but the main Nexus already goes down. Pylon's going to be going down as well. Kai-Fire supply blocked right now, of all things. I mean, sure, he's been keeping his army alive, but it's actually just starting to hurt him in terms of that medevac drop defense.
Very unfortunate for Kai-Fire. Gets the medevac that had no units in it, and also does not quite kill the Vikings. But they're so low, it's a...
And this is the back and forth. He loses this 3rd expansion. Like, there's no way he can defend it at this point. He's moving his army all the way around. At this point, Kai-Fire's just got to be thinking, I've just got to go for it at this point. I am almost surprised he's not, like, pulling his extra probes. It's not mining off of that natural expansion at this point.
You know, I think if he has Storm, he actually goes for it. He actually tries to go for the all-in. Problem
Yeah.
is, Storm isn't even halfway done.
Oh my god. That is a problem. And he doesn't have a high enough Colossus count to really just, like, stomp over a Terran army, like after killing off some Vikings and killing off some of the army. God, look at this. Zan already actually has a decently sized force over here. If he engages out here in toward the center of the map outside of his 3rd expansion, he can get a great concave going in. That should actually just, I honestly feel like it's going to crush Kai-Fire unless Kai-Fire can just wait until Storm finishes up and get some magnificent storms done.
He's got to. You know, Zahn did get a Ghost Academy, but no Ghost, but that might not be a
Storm finishes
problem.
up. Storm finishes up, and he managed to get some good storms. Oh my god, those are some good storms. And actually, there's a lot of SCVs in the mix over here for Zahn, so, you know, maybe Zahn, I don't know what I think about this SCV pull.
I think he should have gotten Ghost a lot sooner, that's what I'm thinking.
I think he's going to need to get some more health on some of those units, but he just is out of energy right now. Only has 3 medevacs in the mix as well. He's trying to get out Vikings and deal with the Colossus, but Viking count is actually pretty decent. He's not quite able to snipe off that one Colossus, but managed to get a couple of those Stalkers in return.
I think he's still okay.
Yeah.
I think so anyways. There are so many storms left over, but when the Colossus dies, not much fodder left over.
And Zan is actually coming in from a 270-degree angle, so the storms are actually beautiful from Kaifire, but it's still just not enough. It's just a matter of surface area, and the army gets cleaned up. Sure, it looks like Zan's army has been cleaned up quite heavily as well, but, I mean, oh, actually, you know, maybe, just maybe, Kaifire, he's starting to push on in through. He's reestablished a third expansion. Can he actually do this?
Zon has got to regroup, and I think he can push this back. But yeah, the question is with Kaifire, with this third base, can he actually bring it back into a macro game after dealing so much damage to his opponent's economy as well?
Oh, man.
Yeah, this is actually really close. The Blink Stalkers are all that's left, though. All the good units pretty much are gone. Even Charge at this point are good units. The upgrades also in the favor of Zon. Something we didn't really bring up is that Kaifire did have to give up upgrades completely to try and get back into this game.
Oh man, you gotta cut corners somewhere, and you know, charged ults are awesome, but Marauders fairly tanky units, and with concussive shells, it makes it very difficult to actually deal with those Marauders.
Yeah, I think with all of his army dying right there, like no Blink Stalkers survived, no High Templar survived. The third base, even though it's up, it's not gonna be enough. The Mules drops the 3 SCVs at a time. Rid of Kaifire is just, you know, 2 base is going to overpower him.
Yeah, especially those Mules, right? Even if it is a worker count, it like even-ish on the worker count, but like upgrades plus taking out all those tech units, it's all those things that you were just talking about. You can see Kaifire is trying to get up some sort of response. I don't know, like I think the High Templars, they're a good choice, but I mean they don't actually even have enough energy for Side Storm until just now. They're gonna have exactly 2 storms. I think that's the summation of what he's got to hold this on with. Alright.
Doesn't even take that engagement. Yeah, he tries to run away from that engagement. I mean, you know, trying to get that that surround is not a bad idea, but well, the Zealots die too soon for the Zealots to get the surround.
God, and Zen is like, he's just making like almost pure Marauder at this point, and guess what? He snipes all the Temple Archives. That was actually probably one of the saving graces of what Kaifire could use to pull himself back into the game. Storm goes down, but it actually whiffs a little bit, and the Marauders, they're very low on health. They probably should get out of there at some point soon, but with the second storm being dropped down, guess what? There's no energy for feedbacks. Not that it matters. There's no energy to feedback, and I think Zon, he's gonna start to push in with the remainder of the units now starting to move in as reinforcements.
Yeah, his macros really, you know, well, whoops, but his macros slipping a lot here. But the micros, you know, it's probably just gonna be enough anyways. It's finally starting to use that 1,000 minerals from the bank, getting more command centers, getting more productive abilities hopefully soon too. Getting all these probes. That was it for the economy.
And this might be the very final stand of Kaifire as he tries to engage and just defend desperately on his third expansion. This is his last game potentially in the Breakout Invitational, season number 3. If he loses this game, he goes out. He's going to be able to amazingly enough to defend a little bit longer, but dropping the main base comes back in, and I think this is it. I think Zen is going to end up moving on to face off against Kelazhur. Yes, Kelazhur. Trying to remember what happened in the winner's game. This has been a pretty actually close series and a longer one. Kaifire definitely very persistent.
Yeah. At this point, Zan should just go ahead and group up everything. The micro's cool and all, but if you group up, you're going to be able to aim move to win, I believe. The Colossus, 1 Archon, a couple Blink Stalkers. Don't even really need Vikings, honestly. You could probably just get a good concave.
Yeah, some really cool play out of Zon though. Like, we ended up seeing kind of a really nice build in game number 2, and honestly, it was like the build that opening that Kaifire was unprepared for. This game, Zon just kind of really playing to the map and just using almost like the same thing that he did in game number 1, but the map just worked out so unbelievably beautifully. He was able to get some massive damage in, so kind of good on Zon and being able to play to the contours of the map. And I think this actually goes a little bit back to the fact that Kaifire decided to grab this low ground third expansion. It made it that much more difficult to really defend.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great that he got it so fast, but the position was probably just... and you know what? It's like, you know, maybe he'll argue another way, but since he did take the right one after a while, he might be like saying like, okay, maybe should have taken this a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Either way, the main drops probably would have done good damage. So hard to debate that was exactly where it went wrong. It probably went wrong when that proxy oracle was scouted.
Yeah, obviously a little bit unfortunate when that stuff does get scattered, but at this point, Kaifire, he doesn't actually even have warp gates to warp in with anymore. They're all depowered. And yeah, he's gonna be able to chase these units around, but I mean, no robotic. Well, okay, he has a robotic facility, but that's quite literally his only ability to produce attacking units, and that's gone now.
And that's gone. I mean, unless you count probes, right?
I mean, probes can attack, but they're no SCVs.
Yeah, am I right? You know, you pull the probes, it's dumb.
You know, I've always been kind of curious about that. Like, when a Protoss player does decide to pull, like, is there ever a time that it makes sense for a Protoss player to pull probes across the map? I know that sometimes it makes sense to pull them for, like, defense, but I've always thought, like, okay, if you have time to pull probes, you probably have time to just have them mine a little bit longer and get another round of warpins. It's probably just, like, gonna end up working better, because then you're immediately across the map, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's so jealous of our SCV pulls, but...
I mean, the only other race that I know can do like SCV pulls is basically Zergs on Steps of War. I know we're gonna be seeing a lot of that on the 12 drone pull. Looking forward to that. Breakout Invitational Season 3. It's gonna be on Steps of War every single game.
I can't wait till all these Kespa guys play on these really old maps they never got to play on. They're gonna be like, why is this map so small?
Oh, that's gonna be beautiful. Like, I'm sure they've like been told about it, but experiencing it is an entirely different thing. But, okay, you know, I'm gonna say Kyber, he's built up more of an army than I thought he would be able to at this point. But, even with, like, 4 storms, he can't even use 4 storms. I feel like he has to waste energy on the medevacs, or sorry, the feedbacks on the ghosts.
Yeah, there's so few units that I think, like, 3 EMPs will EMP everything Kaifire has.
Well, if Kaifire splits... I think that
Split like
Zahn is
Terran.
gonna have to use all of his EMPs to EMP the entire army.
Man, if those were storms, that would have been sick. Unfortunately, they were just brand new High Templars.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, here comes in, I guarantee you, the final push in from Zahn. He's gonna be taking out the Colossus, taking out the remaining units, and he is gonna move on to the Ace match to take on Kelazhur for that final spot in the Breakout Invitational semifinals tomorrow. Congratulations to IVD Zahn. And it was a longer game, but definitely got to hand to Kaifire, a very tenacious player. Gonna fight it out to the end, even if it is just kind of a slimmer of hope. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get Zahn on for the interview. But he's actually offline on Skype, so that's unfortunate. We're gonna see. Maybe he's doing that kind of like, oh, I'm offline, guys. Like, don't bother me right now. I'm playing StarCraft. Did I just call the completely I just called the completely wrong person. Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah, you just saw who I called. I was like, oh my god, he's offline. And I'm like, no, actually, I just called the completely wrong person, and that's why they're offline.
Deal.
Type in Zahn and apparently get somebody else whose name starts with Zahn.
That's blast from the past, man.
Yeah, seriously. But welcome, Zahn, man. Congratulations as you get your webcam on, dude. How are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling okay. I was nervous. I didn't want to lose. Like, I have to beat Kelazhur still. So like,
Yeah.
I feel better now. I feel better after I don't know. I was like playing really nervous, like all the games I played today, and then I just like basically just said fuck it and just threw everything. I'm just like, whatever. I'll just start doing random stuff and throw drops everywhere, and it worked. So hopefully it'll work in my next game too.
Yeah, man, I can definitely feel kind of like your anxiousness there, especially like, but going for that game in build number 2, going for that build in game number 2 definitely worked out. Like the Hellion, like kind of, I want to say like Drunken Boy style, because that's where I see it the most often. Very much working out. So I've got to ask, man, because I don't want to focus too much on what's sort of the past, and also I know it's getting late. We still have one more best of 3 series going on, and I know for the East Coasters it's actually past midnight now. So I'll ask really quickly. Kelazhur, you already faced him once. I gotta say, like, it looked like Kelazhur was fairly in control of the series, but you know what? Even after like game number 1 versus Kaifire, you look like you're starting to bounce back. You look like you're starting to feel a little bit better and more confident. How are you feeling now against Kelazhur?
Well, in both the games that we played, I feel like I had like, maybe not the second one so much, but the first one I felt like I had an early game advantage. I just have to, calm my nerves and just play smart from there on out. And I think, I still have a chance to beat him. I'm not discouraged at all. I feel better after playing that last series, so hopefully it's close.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to do something crazy. I'm going to completely skip all like the videos and everything. I'm actually just going to pull Kelazhur on because Guys, we're already gonna in like janky mode style. I don't have like name tags or anything here, just because we unfortunately did have our observer drop out earlier on. So we're gonna just start the pregame interview right now, So as soon as we get Kelazhur on, we'll start the pregame interview. But I think that we still do need to do map intro, like vetoes and all that other stuff. So if you can try and multitask, I know multitasking is something you're good at. So all right, Kelazhur, if we can get your webcam on, man. How you feeling about this ace match, man?
I'm a little bit tired, but then again, I'll do my best.
Yeah, man. I know it's getting really late. Like East Coasters, we talk about like North America and stuff. Over there in Brazil, it's like an hour later than the East Coast, right? It's actually like 1:30 in the morning for you right now, right?
It's actually 2:30 in the
2:30 in the morning. Oh my god. Well,
yeah,
dude,
we just switch our time zones, our clocks.
all right. Well, you know what? This is actually gonna be the shortest pregame interview ever, then, because I actually just want to say, like,
Okay.
do you guys have any final thoughts for your opponents?
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, have fun. Again.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming in on. It just adds a little bit more to see your face before you go into the field of battle. But best of luck, gentlemen. Go ahead and boot you guys out. And we get ready to move into the next series. They're going to go ahead and do those map picks and vetoes. And we're going to go ahead and wait. But it's going to be yet another TVT. And it's going to be that rematch that, you know, Zombie Grub, we saw it earlier on. And Kelazhur, he looked like... I think Zen said, like, before, there were actually... I'm trying to remember exactly the details of it. But I think there was, like, a couple of points where, you know, Zan was actually looking pretty decent. He was looking to be in, like, good shape. He was doing, like, nice damage and everything with the drops and kind of light harassment. But it felt still kind of, like, not the most difficult series in the world for Kelazhur.
No, there's definitely been more, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
high tense TVTs. But I feel like these guys are just like on a it's not a razor's edge so much as it is like a seesaw, I guess. Where like, you know, Kelazhur might be looking like really powerful, but I really think that like it could really just swing into Zan's favor just with like a good drop or, you know,
Yeah.
good momentum in the first 5 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. Especially like coming off of the sort of like last win and everything, I think that, you know, Zan was kind of saying like he was feeling a little bit anxious going into even that series, especially after losing against Kelazhur and everything. So hopefully calming his nerves is going to help out a little bit. Maybe that was also factoring in to how that first series went, because again, TVT not his favorite matchup in the world or by any means. But you know, same thing goes for Kelazhur. Kelazhur able to get some good improvements while in his TVT matchup and still looking pretty good. But as you were saying, TVT can swing either way. But we're going to be just checking out to see what the map is going to be. I think that we're just taking a look at the maps that have been vetoed so far. Zan vetoing Deadwing. We have Overgrowth taken out. Foxtrot taken out. Zan saying he wants to veto Foxtrot. Is there something about Foxtrot that I'm missing for TVT?
They just both said at the exact same time, I think, not realizing
Oh, okay.
like whose turn it was. So, but yeah, the other map is Nibis. This is vetoed.
All right. Well, I think that the first map is going to be merry-go-round, so talk about a map that's nice for drops. Still can factor in, I think, into TVT when you have a lot of Doom drops and all that kind of stuff going on. So we'll see if that comes to play.
Merry-go-round is probably the only map that's really played towards its name so far. Like, I guess I can't think of all the maps ever in the world, but like just like the fact that it's called merry-go-round,
Yeah.
you kind of get a headache after a while watching all these matchups where it's like really heavily drop based.
Yeah.
And it's like
When there's a Terran on it. It's
merry-go-round.
always when there's a Terran on it, specifically.
Yeah, merry-go-round actually does start giving you a bit of that spinny feeling.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, I don't think we could exemplify a spinny feeling better than that last game where Zan was basically just like, I'm in your main, I'm in your third, I'm in your main base, I'm in your third, like, back and forth, back and forth. And even toward the end, when, like, Half-Hour was sticking in there, it was like, even the safer third expansion we were talking about, Zan was still just like, here's some units at your third, and now the drops come back into the main base and snipe off whatever remaining tech structures and pylons you have, so.
Yeah. It doesn't help that I'm also like going on like hold
Yeah,
on,
you've been at it for a while.
+7 so far, so like 12 hours of casting and just being awake since 8. But
yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like, it's not even just you've been casting for a while. It was like, first of all, you cast the Elite League, which starts at like what,
8.
6 or 7? Yeah, sorry, 8 in the morning for you. Oh my god, that's.
Yeah. But yeah, and like, that went till 12, and then I went and like did stuff with my mom, and then casting from 5 till now. So it's been, I'm feeling, I'm past that whole like let's do whatever we want. I'm towards that like kind of moment. So I think
Yeah,
it's actually
yeah.
adding to like the easy feelingness of
It's
merry-go-round. It's
actually
not
quite
helping.
literally making you feel dizzy right now.
Kind of, a little bit.
Oh man, well I am definitely with you there. We've had quite a bit of a longer end of the day as we are, I guess, approaching now. It's only been 4 hours. I'll say 4 hours is like not that long, but I guess it is a slightly longer cast. Not exactly the longest day for me, but definitely been a hectic day in terms of unfortunately losing our observer current TV, swapping over for the second day in a row. Unfortunately, now I'm doing all the productions and everything, so hopefully we're ready to go. And yeah, I think that everyone is ready. We're going to be jumping into the game. Merry-Go-Round, IVD Zon versus Kelazhur. It's going to be the final series of the night. It's the best of 3, and the winner of this is going to go alongside Midday to fight against the other semifinals, the number 1 seed in the group, JonSnow. So guaranteed to actually have, I just realized, guaranteed to have 2 TVZs in the semifinals. Guaranteed to not have any Protosses. Protoss needs a buff. Confirmed.
No bias, by the way.
No bias.
From a Protoss player.
Coming from a Protoss player, and of course, whatever. I'm too tired to even carry on that joke. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players. As we spawn up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, Merry-Go-Round on top of the red Terran player representing Team Dolly Pro. It is not Zon, not Midday, not Kai Fire, but Kelazhur.
I like to imagine you're actually like cycling through those things.
I was cycling through
them.
them.
Oh my god. Okay, in the bottom position as the blue Terran, it's IVD Zon.
Alright, first try on the second player intro. There we go.
Awesome. So unfortunately there's not much to talk about that we haven't already talked about in the first series.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about like, just like merry-go-round, making my head go around. I guess just point out, Zon kind of got the better positions in terms of getting the surprise drop, but
Yeah.
like the drop can still be in like Zon's face, like actually I kind of feel like Zon's kind of where I'm at right now, and that might help him. He's like nerves to calm down because he's kind of at like the F whatever mode. So he might just be like, you know what, usually I'd be very careful about this drop and maybe I wouldn't be able to get it down, but I'm just gonna go for it. And like the drop actually does more damage because it just was like, like the ballsiest drop.
Yeah. And, that could very well end up working out. Again, like, Kelazhur, I'm actually kind of surprised because I feel like Kelazhur's been playing it relatively safe in a lot of ways. Like, actually, I don't even know safe as the word to describe it. I feel like maybe not even necessarily as much in the TVT, but like in the TVZs especially, we would see like a lot of what I would call indecision out of Kelazhur, where he would look like, oh, I'm gonna go, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this. Or like he'd start to move out and it's like, Beatles would come out and be like, oh, let me pull back against this. Like, I feel like Kelazhur not necessarily taking as many risks, which, as you were saying, like, sometimes really, really ballsy risks, it can just pay off because your opponent's just like, well, why the hell would you do something like that? Like, that's so freaking risky. Why would you do it?
Yeah. That's actually like, that's when you actually start to infuriate your opponents a little bit, is when they're like, what? No, they shouldn't have, that shouldn't have won. God, freak, damn. But, actually, Kelazhur, I don't think, so far has been, like, really, really calm, passive, like, safe. And it is 2 a.m. over there, like, over where he is, as we just went over in that interview. So he's probably at the moment, like, where he's just kind of like, whatever happens, happens. I'm kind of looking forward to sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm sure he's still going to be trying to give it his all and everything, but definitely, I think that just tiredness, it can really start to play a factor. And honestly, it's not even necessarily that the players are like terrible. They're just actually just getting pretty late. So sometimes it's been a long day. You can start to see mistakes that maybe they wouldn't even necessarily make. And on top of that being the fact that this isn't necessarily their favorite matchup, a lot can happen. A lot of crazy things can happen.
It's funny, like it could contribute to like mistakes, but it could also contribute to like a peaceful state of mind. So it's like, it's like if you like run for like 5 miles, you try and play StarCraft 2, you might actually be like more calm and more like, just like clear-headed than you were if you were very nervous. Because like you gotta imagine Zon was probably thinking 1,000 things at once when they first played, and he might be a lot more like clear-minded now. But We'll actually see we're having a bit of a cross of build. It looks like. No, wait. Actually, I think it's going to be Zahn going for a Cloak Banshee and Kelazhur going for a Hellion Drop.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Maybe.
Well, Zombie Grub, my expert analysis as a Protoss player, as you mentioned before, is that neither of those units can shoot up. So.
Yeah. It might just be for a Viking, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hellions and a Viking. Scan actually goes down from Zahn, so he bothers to actually scan, something a Terran player rarely does. Okay, this drop.
Yeah. And I think it does make sense. The reason why I say that jokingly, like, you know, one of these units cannot shoot up, but, you know, the Marine's obviously going to be there to try and defend against the Banshee harass. Question is, are the Marines actually going to be around for kills, or do you think he's actually going to just move out with... Well, hold on. Okay, yeah. Hellion's already moving out across the map. I was wondering if you think he's going to load up the Marines in the medevac, or if he's going to load up the Hellions in the medevac, because if his Marines are completely out of position to deal with the Banshee, that could be problematic.
Yeah, this is gonna get just real weird. This could end in like 8 minutes. So what's really important right now is that Kelazhur's doing something that would actually be stopped pretty nicely if there was a supply depot wall at the front. Obviously, the Hellions can't get in, so I have to deal with one half of the attack. But on the other hand, if that
Widowmine? Oh my god!
Really sick response.
Wow! That was super fast response, and I want to remind you guys, kills are playing on like 220 ping to the North American server. Holy jeez, I didn't even know that was possible.
Well, he's still not... okay, so actually he dodges both Widowmines. Another Banshee, no, that's actually a Raven coming out. The Banshee goes on the list of the map, though. There is a Viking. Oh my god, Cloak isn't done. He's not cloaking the Banshee! But it's a scan anyways, so it doesn't even matter. He's gonna lose it, and I think he actually might lose this game. Like, that Banshee was the only thing he really had. Even the Raven right now, let's get that on one auto turret, and then, you know, that Kelazhur just moves around it.
Yeah, and right now, like, he's actually not producing much. He's making one Marine at a time. He's not really feeling comfortable moving into this, because guess what? If you pull all your SCVs into that army, there are Hellions in the mix. Auto turret gets thrown down, but I mean, now that energy is gone, Widowmine's trying to set up in an okay position, trying to just do whatever damage they can, but god, if the SCV count or SCVs being lost wasn't enough, Zahn is already losing so much mining time right now.
Yeah, he's probably just gonna lose this game.
Yeah.
This might have to pick up right here, but he'd be down to like 8 SCVs. Okay, 6 SCVs.
I honestly feel like we were talking about, you know, sometimes that sleepiness can factor into like, okay, maybe you're feeling a little bit less anxious, or sometimes you can just start making mistakes, and I think that was an example of, you know what, maybe that tiredness is getting to Zahn a little bit, because not cloaking the Banshee when I think you had Cloak finished researching, but also you're dealing with the drop in the main base and everything. Obviously, multitasking gonna be a difficult thing, but I really feel like that's what's gonna cost him the game. Although I guess, I don't know. I guess the Banshee probably gets cleaned up regardless by the Viking plus the scan.
Yeah, I think it's. I hesitate to call it like a build order win for the person who doesn't go for the Banshees in that very specific circumstance. Yeah. But it seems that more often, the more I see it, the more I see the person who didn't go Banshee win. Sometimes the Widowmine gets a good hit though, so that's why it's always like, well, maybe Zahn could do it, and he actually was almost about to with that one Widowmine.
Yeah.
But it just seemed to work out better for the person who has the Marines and the Hellions. It depends more on like their control, I guess. Because like the Banshee can be like easily countered with a Viking, like easier countered, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the Vikings continue to move in over here. I really like how annoying Kelazhur is being. He's just like, can I do some damage to your Raven? Can I get some shots off? No, unfortunately not able to. But
yeah.
I mean, it's just an example of like Zen now starting up his natural expansion command center. Kelazhur has his natural expansion. Has oh my god! I didn't actually look at the work count until just now. 12 workers, 36.
Yeah,
three
the army.
times as many.
The army count isn't so hot for Zahn either, and he has no opportunity. Okay, I like this decision to go for something. It's either like you all win off of one base, which probably isn't going to work because they're going to have tanks, or you try and get really, really greedy. So 30C is not a bad idea, but you just don't have enough tanks to actually turtle so you can use it. There's not enough.
Gonna be able to kill off a couple of units before the entire army's over there, but ends up losing a lot of Marines as well. God, I think he's gonna have to be relying on some sick Widowmine hits, but oh man, the Widowmine already gets scanned. Is gonna get taken out. The other Widowmine, I guess, it's in that same location in preparation for the drop, but it's not really gonna come into play. And Zahn, he's just gonna lose his army and most likely the game as well.
Yep. GG. It was I really hope he looks at that kind of just like a bust, like, that wasn't
Mhm.
really on me, so I shouldn't be
Yeah.
too worried about it. But it is just so difficult. You're in the Ace series, you lost the first game. Some people are always going to be affected by that.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially like if you already lost versus this player specifically, and I think God, it's been a long day now, but I'm pretty sure it was a 2-0, right? Not going crazy.
Was it?
Okay, well, I'm gonna give a huge shout out to everyone on Liquipedia because you guys are amazing. The people who edit Liquipedia live, because when I don't remember stuff, they update it, and yes, it was in fact a 2-0 in favor of Kelazhur. So really, really, like, a rough way for this whole series to go. Like right now, Zahn has quite literally not won a game against Kelazhur today.
Ooh, I hope he doesn't realize that. You say it like that.
Yeah,
Ugh.
and like there's been points where I feel like he's looking okay. But it's so rough, and God, I really hope he's able to come back and show us a really awesome series. I know it's getting late for both. I'm sure actually even you, Zombie Crab, is getting pretty late for you, as well as the fact that you've been casting for a while and everything. But also for the players and viewers and everything. But I still would love to see this go to like maybe a longer series and just see Zahn be able to kind of like come back and recuperate kind of his mindset in this.
Yeah. I'd honestly really like to see the second game, not because it would be fast, but actually just go one-sided in his favor, because I think that would actually like give him back the mental fortitude he needs. Because if it's like a really close game and he still wins, I think that shakiness is still there. Like, oh my God, he like won last time. He might win this ace, the ace. But if it's like a stomp, it's like, oh, that was so bad.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're going to be jumping into the next game. I do remind you guys one really last time, because this may very well end up being the last game of the night. If you do want to actually get a chance to win this awesome Zergling plushie, all you have to do is tweet at the player that you want to win the whole damn invitational. Make sure you're also following them as well as me. Make sure you tweet at me so I can actually see the tweet and direct message you on Twitter about the actual giveaway. And hashtag BreakingOutNA. And you can win one of these things totally for free. I'm paying for shipping and everything, so be sure to be doing that right now. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players. Spawning up in the top left-hand corner, because I remember which one of these hotkeys I have his intro on. We have the blue Terran player representing... Oh god, I messed it up, Yes, representing Team IVD Gaming, it is IVD Gaming Zahn.
I was like, it says right there, why are you messing up his team? In the bottom right, as the red Terran, it is Kelazhur. Kelazhur.
Those foreigners. Just, you can pronounce it how you want.
Yeah, exactly. We own it. It's English now, actually.
That's
so deal with
America.
it. Yeah.
America decides how to pronounce things.
I like we take it, we mold it, and then we're like, it was actually our word. You know, like you made this, I made this.
I'm trying to think of. There's like a bunch of words like that in like a bunch of British words that like initially were British words, and we've like changed the way it's pronounced, and most Americans don't realize like that the British even pronounce it differently.
Hold on, vitamins?
Oh, vitamins! Oh my god, that's so weird, yeah.
Wait, they say aluminum differently too. Aluminium?
Aluminium. Okay,
yeah.
Rifkin also does that. Canadian.
Does he? We never talked about aluminum before.
Right? Well, I don't know. Actually, Rifkin pulls my leg on a lot of things.
Yeah, the money pouch is still going strong. Oh, sorry.
When I find out when his birthday is, I'm gonna ship him a money pouch and be like, I hate you. It's not gonna have any money inside. It's just gonna have a note being like, I hate you.
He's gonna use it too. He's gonna be like, man, it's actually just ties right around my belt.
He's gonna show up to events with that. Start telling other people that. Oh god.
Oh, okay. So anyways, these guys pretty paranoid about each other proxying, it seemed. They both scouted the common location. Yeah,
and both gonna be opening up the same way as well. Factory opening. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I'm not 100% like confident in saying this, but I do feel like the factory openings and like going up to the starport is sort of like the safer, more standard opening these days in TVT, just because it's like, look, if your opponent's going for the Banshee, you can get out like either a Raven or a Viking. If your opponent's going for, you know, Widow Mine drops or whatever, like you can get out.
Yeah.
Like, I guess a Banshee to deal with the medevac and, you know, whatever other Marines to deal with whatever other units are out there. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I don't think that's too bold of a statement to make. It is pretty safe to go up to the 1-1-1. I mean, if it's not if your opponent got something more economical, you can still do something with the Banshee or even the Ravens, or you know, of course, you can go into the 2 tank drop, which is very, very popular. If they got something a little like, you know, if they matched you, you can match them. I don't know. It's just like, you know,
Yeah.
the 14, you can get away with like a 1-Rex expand. In fact, some Terrans actually try it. If you like diligent scouting, they didn't do anything too cheesy in the beginning. You can scout whatever it is, and then have like missile turrets, bunkers, defense up by the time, and that's, you know, safe and also very economical. But it's just, you know, I don't know. I like the flexibility, the freedom of options that the 111 gives you, and in that way, I feel like maybe it's not safer, but it feels like more of a safety blanket, I suppose.
Yeah, it feels like there's more options available to you, even if it doesn't necessarily cover everything your opponent could do.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's the way to put it. It's like a
Yeah.
safety blanket for me, but
Well, Raven going to be coming out for Kelazhur, so definitely opting to play it a little bit on the safer side. And actually, I think the Zon, maybe I'm just getting really tired, Zombie Grove, but I'm pretty sure he had a Banshee queued up and he canceled it and then started building a Raven. And that would also make sense why he was behind in his Raven timing.
you are not wrong. It was, because I was about
Okay.
to say like, hey, it's Raven versus Banshee, but then he changes his mind and goes for his own Raven. I don't think they scouted each other.
Oh, I think
let
he
me-
scanned. He had just threw it, which is actually
he
like pretty interesting because it's, you know, one base versus one base. So scans, they don't come cheap. So
No, they don't. And for the most part, you just kind of like wildly guess, because you can get a Banshee and follow up with a Viking of your own or a Raven, and you can defend against like a counter Banshee fairly well. You don't lose like, you know, a hell of a ton of SCVs.
Yeah.
So the choice is usually not to scan, but actually Zon's been the one who's been doing it every single game, I believe. Like at least the last game, I did make a note that he did scan, and I said, you know, Terrans never do that. We're pretty greedy. But yeah, he does, and it's so unfortunate. Like I see he's trying to play safe. He's not trying to just like, you know, lose to something stupid, like, you know, not scouting that it's mech. But then he still is losing.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of kind of like weird situations, especially like you think about how. Okay, oh, by the way, I totally forgot to update the score overlay. Okay, there we go. Now the score is actually on the screen. But yeah, especially if you think about how the last game happened. Like to him, it may sort of feel like, oh my god, if I had just known that was coming or something, like. And I had just been able to prepare with my Banshee and everything, I maybe would have been able to help, like, do better or something. So, like, yeah, maybe just saying, like, okay, I'm not gonna let that sort of thing happen again.
Yeah, you know, he did scan last game, though, when he saw there was a 1-1-1 with no tech lab or reactors. So you kind of would have thought that it, you know, unless he thought it was actually going to be Viking, you know, I mean, he probably knew what it was without then sending the Banshee over would be better. Obviously not the choice, but that just, I'm trying to say that, like, it doesn't, just because you scout something doesn't necessarily prove that you're actually going to be effective against it.
Yeah, that's
you know?
true.
Like, the 2-base Immortal then was actually pretty famous for being that way. You could scout Partings Immortal in every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Every single game.
You could not even, like, scout it. You could just be like, I know he's gonna do this, and you'd still lose to it.
Exactly. So it's that type of idea a little bit there. We do have the double tank drop. It is kind of scouted if Zon is paying attention.
Oh, man. Yeah, actually, baller Marine timing over here from Zon. He's actually just getting the scout off on everything, but as you were saying, is that actually going to be... Zan, what are you doing? I don't think he saw it!
I don't think so either. I mean, unless... It's always going to be a question, does he think that he can't defend it and thus should just counterattack? Or did he actually not know that it was coming? No, he loses the Viking and the Raven. That's actually pretty important, but the attack goes off and there's nothing here. Zon just has to counterattack, and you know what though? Kelazhur has got to know, like, okay, he's counterattacking, there's nothing over here. He's the one that's able to lift his command center. There we go. He can hold up in his main.
Oh my god, and yeah, he could, honestly, I just feel like throwing out a bunker or something, right? Like, what have you got to lose? You're quite literally on top of your opponent's production facilities, and he's like desperately trying to repair up a siege tank. His barracks is lifted up. He's not producing anything over there, but it looks like Zon gonna be pushing up over into the main base. Let's see what damage he can do.
This might actually still work out for Zon okay. I think he has the bigger army at the end of the day. Just
that
barely,
siege
maybe.
tank! Oh, does finally get focused right down by the siege tanks of Zon. He's able to break on in through and kills off a fair number of the workers actually with the splash damage. He's doing some good damage over here.
Yeah, he's still winning out in the air war, I believe. Well, actually, the Viking has landed, so you can't really call that an air war yet, but it's so close. The SCV count's starting to dip down more because as he pulls into an auto turret Marines, but the army supply is exactly even, 22 to 22.
I think that Zon has cleaned up a majority of the aggression, though, and you know what? He can start mining again at his natural expansion and everything. He still has units inside of his opponent's base, and it's actually at the point where, like, I think did he just rally a siege tank all the way across the map?
He might have.
I think, yeah, he did.
All right. All right, Baller's gonna clear up this check, no problem as well. Probably didn't have to use any SCVs, so this is, yeah, he definitely didn't, but cleans it up, and now he has a huge army, well, not a huge army supply, but he has a huge supply.
He has more than double the
worker.
number of siege tanks
My
over
God.
here.
Worker supply. He's up in workers, and then
Worker
the
supply,
army
yes.
supply is still actually pretty even. But I feel like okay, the worker supply is gonna be a bigger deal.
Yeah, amazingly enough, Kelazhur did manage to save that natural expansion. Of course, lifting it off earlier on, even though it was actually under a lot of siege fire. Managed to keep it alive, so that's going to keep him maybe in this game a little bit longer, but man, he did end up losing quite a bit. And I was sitting here, I was doubting Zan. I was thinking, you know what, Kelazhur, he's like already in the main base of Zan. Zan's like moving halfway across the map. How in the world does it work out for him? But Zan, he found a way to make it work.
Yeah, it is pretty important to note that while he was in the main, he wasn't necessarily on top of the production. You know, there was tanks
It was really
popping
close
out.
to it, but yes, not on top of it.
Yeah, and it wasn't on top of anything really that important. You know, it was chilling away at that one barracks, but like, you know, like the barracks could actually take quite a hit, so it wasn't chilling with the SCVs, it was chilling with the actual units popping out. Whereas Kelazhur actually had to pull into the tanks. You know, all those SCVs, he had tanks that were getting like, you know, fired upon. He was getting Vikings killed because he was losing out in the Viking War. So a lot more mistakes like that happened, and it did lead into Zahn being in a pretty comfortable position.
Part two is Kelazhur going to be going for this drop, and Zahn has 2 of his siege tanks loaded up. If he just takes his entire army and like drops at the exact same time that this army of Kelazhur like moves in, or the drop moves in.
He needs more Marines though, I feel, to really have an effective drop. Like tanks are scary, but not alone.
Yeah, well, I feel like, you know, he gets some free damage in over here. Okay, well, not free. A single Marine gonna lose this. Oh my God, the Marine. He's going after the. Okay, that was a very fast death to a siege tank.
His like entire body exploded.
He
like
actually
an imprint.
There was actually no pain. It just immediately ceased to exist.
Yeah,
that was the best way to go.
3 medevacs full of units, like 4 tanks. I mean, a very small number of Marines, but this might just be enough. Kelazhur's still moving around with his own Marine force, but Zahn has a very powerful production. I think he threw down 4 barracks after the attack was said and done. Yeah, he did. The 2 are in the back, so his reinforcements can take care of this.
Well, the scan was thrown down by Zahn. Maybe Kelazhur will sneak up and be like, oh, wait a second, he just scanned me. Where's the drop coming in from? But unfortunately going to be out of position for it. All the Marines over at the front. The drop, the 3 medevac drop coming into the backside. And this is something Zahn was saying, or sorry, Kelazhur was saying. It is a map of doom drops. Sorry, a matchup of doom drops. And, well, Kelazhur, he actually gets on top of the factory of the starport this time. But, oh God, there's actually too many Marines for Zahn already to defend.
Yeah, reinforcement's too good. Whereas Kelazhur is now supply blocked, so he can't even reinforce. His command center could go down here. There aren't a lot of Marines to buffer for this. So the Marines coming in here for Kelazhur might be able to take this on, maybe, just to spread a little bit more.
Oh.
Yeah, not enough.
GG gets called, and Zahn gonna be taken to the final game of the series.
Yeah, he broke it. He broke the whole, like, you know, he hasn't won a game against him yet. And that's gotta be a pretty good feeling. It wasn't a stomp like I was, you know, kind of hoping for his mental state, but it was a win.
Yeah, definitely. And I can see you, like, you're rubbing your eyes. You're like, oh man, crying tears of joy for Zahn. That's of course why you're doing it. You're crying tears of joy for Zahn making it over. But we are gonna gain that game 3. I'm pretty excited for this. I'm really excited to see if that's gonna be enough for Zahn, because I know we've been saying, like, you know, Zahn, that was the first game he won against Kelazhur. He hasn't exactly been in, like, losing situations every single time, like, at every point in all those games. It wasn't like he was just getting completely outclassed and outplayed. Like, there were points in time where it was like, oh man, you know, this might actually really work out well for Zahn. But he was never able to really close it out, and that was the game he needed to close it out. And that's kind of like that confidence boost you kind of need. And Kelazhur, it's honestly later for Kelazhur right now. That tiredness, that lethargicness, lethargy? English major somewhere out there is going to correct me, I'm sure. Oh, speaking of which, Bobblecon actually was saying that, oh God, he said something ridiculous. He was like, God, these casters, it's pronounced aluminum, but he like he just spelt out the word aluminum. So I don't know if he's saying aluminium or if he's saying aluminum. It's just like,
so hopeful.
God, it's just spelt, it's just pronounced this way that it's spelt, and I'm like, that's not informative. That's not informative at all.
Oh, him. Okay. Well, I guess we've been focusing a little bit too much on Zan for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't know what it is, but Kelazhur, he also kind of wants to win, right?
No, he definitely wants to win. And, just speaking of Kelazhur, like, he does actually have it's sort of weird because, again, he's one of those players that I say is, like, up and coming in the scene and everything. He's from Latin America, but he's actually one of the best Latin American players for sure, and he has a good Latin American base support because he's actually a pretty damn good player, and you know what? I'm betting a lot of those guys are out there cheering for him, so if you do want to cheer for him, let me know in the chat. Let me know on Twitter. Let me know everywhere else, and of course, tag Zombie Grub in there as well. As we spawn over here on the bottom left-hand side of the map on top of that player from Team Pro Dolly, it is the red Terran player, Kelazhur.
The upper right Oz, or actually, well, the upper right dish, is to say,
Yeah,
has
right.
the blue Terran. It's IVDs on. So, I think, the biggest reason is that he did win that last series, so we're it's almost like we unconsciously made him as
The underdog, right?
yeah, Zahn is
This
the
is a tournament about
so-
underdogs, so automatically.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
but it's actually not the case. Remember that, again, those matches weren't necessarily like, Kelazhur was like
They were
laughing
close,
and
yeah.
dancing Marine.
Yeah,
They were
right.
really, really close. And he also does not feel confident in TVT. So we're kind of like making this seem to be like, I don't know, like a David versus Goliath scenario here. And it's really not. It's like two Davids that are like really scared. They're kind of like pelting like, small rocks at each other. And like, no, ow, no, please. So it's like, it's less about like either like, us favoring either player, just getting rid of that. Oh, that was weird.
It's
that
okay.
fictitious story, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying for sure, and I'm interested to see how exactly, like, again, the build orders and the openings, I think, has factored in a lot in how the games end up shaping up. So we can see already, like, a slight deviation. Kelazhur going for the slightly later gas geyser barracks than gas, whereas I think we had Zan going for the gas first.
Yeah, well, recall what Kelazhur said about this exact map and this exact scenario is that he knows that Zahn is a guy who goes for gas first, and that a double Reaper opener can be very effective against it. He just simply messed up the micro. So as long as it doesn't happen again, I think he's really looking to just end the game very early here.
I also want to remind you, Zombie Grub, I'm not sure whether it's actually that important to note, but even after quite literally losing, like, basically all of his Reapers almost immediately, Kelazhur still went on to win that game.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
that's absolutely true.
Imagine what he can do if he actually just micros this out really well and doesn't lose those early, like, the first, like, Reaper or two. He's able to get damage and then transition down to the later game. It may end up working out even better, but I think that Zahn, I'm trying to remember what he did. I think actually maybe he was going for the same build.
I think so. I think it's exact. No, wait. No, he was going for, because he had multiple Marines popping out, right? He had like 1 and then 2 and then 3.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He went for
So-
straight into the, yeah.
The 1-1-1, right? He's going up
Yeah,
to go up to a starport. By getting a reactor, he cuts into the Marine count that initially saves you.
Oh, there's
but the
only
factory
one
does
Marine.
finish, so he just immediately starts Helene. So it's still going to be okay,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Kelazhur doesn't actually need to micro against that Marine. He just kills it. Because unfortunately, one Marine, not a whole lot of defense against a single Reaper. And unfortunately for Zahn right now, I mean, he's trying to pull his SCVs back, but these aren't drones. Oh my god, actually baits him into the middle. Almost gets the surround. I was going to say, it's kind of surprised he's not actually microing those SCVs back a little bit sooner or something, pulling him off. But he does manage to get out that Hellion, cleans up that first Reaper. And that actually is worth noting. It's important because 3 Reapers versus a Hellion, that is a big difference versus 2 Reapers versus a Hellion.
Yeah, well, something very important is that I think Zahn had like a SCV in the main of Kelazhur, and he had to just he sent both of those Reapers back, so they should have been across the map already, helping that third Reaper, and instead one dies again. So again, like thinking that this is gonna do so well, and then just fizzles out.
Yeah, I would
not
say,
much actually accomplished.
I would say he's definitely done more damage than he did in the last time he did this. Like he killed off 3 SCVs at least this time, but. I mean, of course, this is a different opening from Zahn. He opened up in a situation that honestly should have been a little bit worse for the wear, I think, just because, again, he didn't exactly have that as high of a Marine count earlier on, so that meant kind of had less units to defend against the early Reapers. But 3 Reapers now on the map, and Zahn, he's actually moving out. Oh my god, this actually might be a nice opportunity for Kelazhur to just, like, move into the main base.
He does take out a Reaper, or a Hellion for a
yeah.
trouble. Does lose both of his Reapers, and this final one should go down before killing that Reaper. Okay, good. Hellion should not have died.
Yeah. And actually,
Zahn?
Oh, he has SCVs out of the map with this.
Yeah, I like it though. Zahn is trying to push in here. He realizes that the production probably isn't that strong for Kelazhur. He's trying to get up to his own starport. But recall that Kelazhur did mention my Banshee follow-up is usually what kills him. And I'm not sure Zahn realizes this is coming. So he's no engineering bay. He really doesn't have that many Marines. But it's not out. It's not ready yet. And it needs to actually help defend against this.
Yeah, his Marines are now moving over to the main base. I think he realizes what could potentially be going on, but it's a little bit too late. Actually, SCV's unloading alongside the Hellions. He's trying to repair those Hellions back up, keeps one of them alive for just a little bit longer. Actually, now the SCV tanking, not something that you see every day, but SCV's being pulled off the line over here for Kelazhur. Those SCVs are not made for tanking.
Yeah, a tank is about to pop out, but the Hellions are gonna do so much damage to the mineral line. Oh, he stacks up against the Hellions!
Oh my god.
I don't know if that was a great idea. It's about to be not a very idea. The last shot does take down a huge amount of SCVs. The tank does pop out, but you can just pick up. There's not enough Marines to take down his medevac.
Oh my god, did Zahn just get the enormous advantage that he needs?
I think he did.
He's up a good 6 workers right now. He needs to continue the SCV production. He wasn't producing SCVs for a little bit. And I do want to note also, he had SCVs pulled with this army. And I mean,
I think instead of more medevacs and more Hellions, he should have put down a command center. Instead of this production run right now, probably should have been a command center. He's gonna get one now. He did kill a lot of SCVs there, but it's double SCV production versus just one command center's worth of SCV production. So 16 to 21 can definitely be what can be made up. It did stop Kelazhur from going for that follow-up Banshee that I was so sure he was going to get, but now you gotta worry about the tank follow-up, which could be just as scary.
Oh, definitely. And, finally that natural expansion is going to be thrown down by Zan. And as the tech lab gets added on over there, oh man, this is going to be a very, very strange situation over here. Zan loading up the medevac, but the Viking spots it out and just kind of gives it a ping and is like, hey, stop it. Stop that.
You stop that. Yeah, you can just unload the Marines, of course, and try and bait the Viking into them, but decide to just get lost in the giant airspace that is Catalina.
Yeah, I like the fact that Kelazhur is just using this Viking to patrol along that top side. He knows that's where at least one of the drops is, but is he aware of this drop on the bottom side? That's where the Hellions are, and the Reaper, of all things, going to be there to scout it out. But, he does have his Marines in the remainder of his main base, so he should be able to react to this relatively quickly.
Question is, how is he going to react to the natural? What does he pull back and where? It looks like he's just going to pull the SCVs from here. That's probably the safest bet he could do. I doubt the commander is going to go down here.
Yeah, it shouldn't go down. Actually, the Viking moved out of position. That's all I was wondering about that. I thought he had the Viking there.
Hey, you know what's such a cool fact that I learned today?
What?
Rifkin, if he's watching, he's going to be so happy. But you know what's actually cool about Zahn actually going for that Hellion drop with the SCVs?
What?
SCVs on auto repair will repair inside of a medevac.
Oh, yeah, no, that's actually a really, really awesome thing. Not going to factor in right now because he doesn't have the SCVs with his Hellions right now. Honestly, he could use it right now, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, it was kind of, I think that was the idea that was helping out when he first did the push. I don't know if it actually worked or really played a part, but that's a cool thing about bringing those SCVs.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually really, really awesome because I think it did play a part just because if you remember, like, the Reapers were kind of sacrificing themselves to try and pick off those Hellions, try and get some damage done. SCV is able to repair it. I'm not sure if they even got, like, fully repaired outside the medevac or whatnot, but it's still, like, the fact that he had the SCVs with the aggression and was able to load them up just added a little bit more tankability to it.
Yeah. You have a drop loaded up for Kelazhur this time, and you know what? Zahn's been applying all the aggression. Maybe he hasn't really thought about the return aggression. No supply depots to cover the dead space, no units up there either.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried right now. Zahn, okay, he has enough units to defend against this, but he's moving out, right? Oh my god, he's just now realizing what's going on. He's going to be moving back. He shouldn't take too much damage, but he just needs to pull his SCVs. He's going to lose a little bit of mine time. It's like one of those inconveniences. He's going to maybe lose like a supply depot or two, but should be able to clean this up.
Yeah. Luckily, Stem wasn't done well for either player, honestly.
Yeah, right.
That could have been a lot worse. Oh, sick move. Well, you stopped in the middle. Oh, I was so excited. If he had a Viking, that would have been absolutely perfect, but no player really investing into it yet.
I want to hand it to Kelazhur for, like, that was a sick move from Zahn in an attempt, and then Kelazhur was actually even, like, one-stepping. What? Oh my god.
Awkward is.
What is
Awkward
this?
Does? What?
What is this? Like, just drop out one Marine, Zahn. Just drop out one Marine.
Well, the question is who drops, like, because, like, if they both drop, did one...
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of the Viking, that's a nice pickoff already just for this drop. He does have the tank still in the medevac, so he can just go around. That's exactly what he does.
Yeah, I think that Kelazhur, he's been very, very cautious about like the drops in the main base. He's actually this entire game had these 2 siege tanks sieged up in the mineral line. Well, I said the entire game, but we've had some pretty crazy stuff happen this entire game. I don't think he's had 2 siege tanks the entire game, but is it actually going to be enough to defend over here? It's certainly going to help.
Yeah, just need to get out of the range of that one tank. There you go. Now you can start taking down the reactors, the tech labs. There's combat shields that are just barely out of the way. Oh, actually, he can hit
he's
that.
Focus firing it down.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's actually a really great hit right there. Now his Marines are off much better. Actually, we don't even have it yet. Okay, we don't have combat shields yet, but at least they're not worse.
Oh man, Zon is actually, I really feel like, you know what, Zombie Grove, Zon is feeling so much better. He's playing so much better than some of those other games that he's played throughout the day, and he's looking confident, he's making good moves, and he's moving in for a lot of damage in the main base, as well as over at the natural expansion, he's going to be moving in with his Hellions.
But in the main of Zon, there is there's a small dispute going down, I suppose. The LFSCV's died, that tank might die as well.
Does end up falling. And actually, Kelazhur, he's going to have to try and get some more damage done over here as the Marines do finally get cleaned up, but he's lost so many of these add-ons. His starport still. I was like, did he lose his starport? No, he lifts up his starport to a safer location. Try and maybe get up some of those Vikings to just kill off the medevacs. Make sure, like, look, if you're going to do all this damage, you're damn sure going to pay for the, like, lives of all of the units over here.
Oh, man, if that factory went down, that would have been absolutely huge.
Oh, he still needs to repair that.
Yeah,
the SCV repairing it actually got killed off!
Oh, hopefully he noticed.
Oh?
He did.
Okay.
He did not. He did not. Oh, he's gonna go for it.
Oh god, yeah, I think that the factory is actually gonna end up just burning down, but it looks like he's gonna be able to clean up this push. Factory, 50 health. Kelazhur, I know it's
40.
late, but your alarm bells,
30.
he's pulling SCVs. He's sending it to the main base, no, Kelazhur!
Just repair.
The Marines, no, they can't repair!
They don't have any hammers. They just they wanted like a nail and a hammer, and they would have held it long enough for an SCV to repair it.
Okay,
BM Marines.
I know that the aggression is like stopped for a little bit, but that's such a big deal right now because that halts Kelazhur's ability to produce siege tanks. That severely limits his options for the next little bit. And you can even see right now, especially with all the aggression that happened, his production facilities were under attack. He has built up this massive mineral and gas bank, basically mining off of like effectively one base. His main base not really mining right now. His natural expansion was the only thing mining, and it's not that his like macro was terrible. He actually just didn't have production facilities around and available to produce units.
Yeah, exactly. I've never seen mineral patches like mined out so perfectly, by the way, like from the in to the out.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, I like Zon lost out in his energy base very early to that one drop, but he just put down 2 to make up for it because I was gonna note if he had forgotten his energy base, that could really play play well into this game. But now he actually might have better upgrades eventually. And actually, he completely finds us just completely undefended. I don't think he'll be able to get the command center. No, yes, yeah, no, yes.
No, Kelazhur's not gonna let it. He's not gonna let it die unrepaired this time.
Oh, if the Marines could actually chase that, totally would have died. 4 SCVs would not have been enough, but luckily, not the case. Drop in the main goes down as well.
Oop. Important things actually going on instead of me zooming in on a patch of dead space.
Sick observer.
Sick observer. Fire for your dragon, guys. Hashtag fire for your dragon. But medevac drop's going to be coming back into the natural expansion. Actually, the entire army right now, or most of the army for Kelazhur, not entirely in position to deal with this, but Zen not going to risk it. He sees a couple of the units over there and just decides, you know what, siege tanks going to be enough to scare me away for now.
Yeah, but I mean, he denied the third. He has his own third. He's doing actually really, really great right now, and he's up by 40 supplies. So everything is starting to come together to show, obviously, in the supply. Soon the upgrades are actually going to be really great for him as well. I'm just feeling pretty good for Blue Terran here.
Yep, Kelazhur is looking to try and do some damage, and actually, this army is not positioned at the third, it's positioned at the natural expansion. SCV is going down. The command center, is Kelazhur going to return the favor? He's going after the command center. He's trying to get some damage in, but it looks like the remainder of the forces for Zan are here. But here, actually, blows into the main base. Oh, perfect positioning from Zan. He is ready for it.
He's trying to find some place. This just barely picks up to help out. Oh, he actually gets out of there. That was some sick jukes. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Boost is done. Okay, that was
So sick defense and sick jukes from both of the players, actually.
This is the best way to put it, right? Both
Oh,
players doing well so far, but of course Kelazhur without that third for so much longer is really starting to hurt here. He also only has 1 engineering bay, I believe, so Zon is going to get better upgrades.
Eventually, like, right, he was actually on better upgrades for, like, a good portion of the game, but +1 weapons or armor gonna finish up.
I did not notice he didn't have combat shields, so...
Wait, did he never rebuild it? Oh no, wait, Zon didn't have combat shields.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, you're right.
Now. So his Marines were continuously worse off. It wasn't like the Marine versus Marine fight happened, but you know, maybe there's some situations where they would have been
it's gonna happen right
a
now,
little bit
right?
better. Yeah, you're right. The combat shields is not done yet, but the tanks are in great position. This is it, though. The concave goes in favor of Zon right here.
It does go in favor, but this is like what we were talking about, the combat shields. Those Marines get almost 1 or 2-shotted by all those siege tanks, and guess what? Now the siege tanks over here, worse for the wear. How the heck are we gonna defend against the medevacs just dropping Marines on top of them? It looks like the answer is load them up into the medevacs and hope that one of them gets away. Unfortunately, it looks like Kelazhur, he is the risk taker, and he gambled right, got the right medevac. Well, actually, I take it back. It looks like it's not even gonna matter. Single Marine gonna be getting away.
Oh, we just gave away a big chunk of his army right there. That actually did come down to the combat shields. Oh my god, I cursed them.
How
so
are
sorry.
the army supplies even right now? Or like, sorry, not army supplies, like just general supplies right now.
7 more SCVs for the player. He's gotta give up his third now. This is absolutely terrible. He can just move over to the other third, which is, you know, nice about that. But he's his army supply is not great. It's not great at all, and it's all with them.
No.
Right? It came out of those combat shields. I can't believe that.
Combat shields finishes up just now. If Zon is regretting the decision not to get combat shields a little bit earlier, I guess opportunity, but he's gonna be pulling the SCVs. He's gonna see what he can do to try and take out this army. No,
Yeah.
that's a lot of siege tanks. That's a lot of siege tanks.
He must have realized how much that was actually SCVs and not Marines. It was like, okay, I'm just gonna get obliterated here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and despite having the double upgrade, the double engineer bay faster, he actually does not have the upgrade lead, not start with +2 armor. So everything that was going so well for Zon is suddenly going so poorly.
Well, okay, to defend Zon's position right now, yes, not having that third location is annoying, but right now Kelazhur, it looks like he may load up into the main base, but right now, he's not actually putting pressure onto the production facilities. He's taking out supply depots and stuff. Zon has plenty of those to spare. To be entirely honest, he just lost most of his army. But Zon is moving across the map right now. A very questionable decision when the entire army of Kelazhur is right outside his front door. Actually, it's in his front. It's inside of the front door, Zombie Crumb. There's no locks anymore.
Wow, a lot of SCVs just piled up in the refinery right here. He has started mining from the other third, but it still doesn't have that strong of production. In fact, he's down by 30 supply now. This drop is kind of the last hope to cause like a really great base trade. Oh, it's just not gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen.
I mean, okay, does Zon just like try and say, like, suck it up and say, okay, I'm just trying to make as big of a defense as possible as I have it. Oh god, the siege train from Kelazhur, what an MVP. Another siege train gonna pop out, and guess what? It's probably gonna do some massive damage. Well, okay, not as much massive damage, but still, the Marines popping out. I feel like eventually Kelazhur is gonna be able to clean this up if he corrects his rally points. Okay.
Yeah, correct the rally point. You should be able to clean it up. I mean, there's like a single tank for some reason just going unkilled here. The upgrade's gonna oh, actually, that's a great takeoff right now. The upgrades are gonna be such a big deal. You know, Zon still doesn't clean up the army in his front door, but at least he moved the production.
Yeah. He has enough of an army to move back home to defend and just say, you know what, get out of here. I still have bases that are mining and producing stuff. You kind of are losing that right now.
He still has a chance to come back into this game. He's only down by 20 supply, and that's a good fight, you know.
That 20 supply is okay, yeah, 20 army supply, but also 20 workers.
Right, that's where it's coming from. That's why the supplies are so damn even.
Well, no, it's both, right? Like, he's down 20 army supply and 20 worker supply.
No, he's not.
Oh, it was reverse, actually. Oh my god, actually, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so...
Oh my god, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's kind of where it's coming into, and you know what? Kelazhur might just be getting, you know, a little too run ragged, because, like, he's going to the south right now, but that's when the drop goes to the north. He's gonna lose a lot more SCVs.
Oh, these fresh mules.
Oh, whoopsie. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But the question is, can Zon now hold on to his third? He's doing so well against the main, but his third is wide open.
Oh god, Kelazhur, his army is like actually really far out of position. I guess he's looking for that third expansion, so he's going along the bottom side, but it's gonna take him a while to get over there.
Sick mind games from Zon, not mind games, but just intuition right here. Oh, this command center never was lifted. That's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, his
Kelazhur's-
army gets obliterated.
Oh.
Oh, wow. That's
Even
it.
if-
That's probably it.
Yeah, at this point, Kelazhur, he is basically leading up a solid 60 army supply. Is this it? He takes out the 3rd expansion for IBD Gaming Zon. He takes out all the SCVs. And guess what? If he's able to win this game, he qualifies. GG, well played, gets called by Zon. Kelazhur from Brazil, gonna be the next and final semifinalist. Moving on to day 3. Well done to the Brazilian. I think a lot of players, actually, I'm just gonna say, like, even just talking to players from Group A alone, you know, players that actually play against other players in the North American server, like players that are playing against each other, underestimating Kelazhur, saying, you know, I think that probably, they're actually saying Midday and Zon most likely to make it out, and I think 1 or 2 players were saying, like, one or 2 players are saying Kaifer, but also, like, some people saying Kelazhur. Definitely underrated, even amongst the underrated, I would say. Or sorry.
It's underrated of underrated.
Yeah. But really sick play out of Kelazhur. God, that last game, honestly, it was great. I was feeling really tired. I was like breaking down / hashtag fire fear dragon for like terrible observing skills and all that stuff. But that was like definitely waking me up. That was a really great way to finish off the series. And honestly, I think that Zen definitely proved, you know what, even though he's had kind of a rough day today, showed some great games. And I hope that people do decide to also check him out as well on Twitter and everything. Alright, but let's go ahead and pull in the winner, Kelazhur, for the winner's interview. Zamagov, I'm really tired. Kelazhur just won that game, right? I'm not about to call the loser, right? Okay.
Oh,
I did that yesterday, and that was less than ideal.
Good deal.
Alright, well, as soon as we get Kelazhur here on the call, we'll get to hear how he's feeling, man. Kelazhur, congratulations on your victory. You made it not only through the base tree TV qualifiers earlier today, you also make it to the semifinals of the Breakout Invitational. You gotta be feeling good, man. I know you're feeling tired, but you gotta be feeling good.
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. That last game, wow, that was really close.
Yeah, man. Okay, what was just like going through your mind in that last game? Like, were you getting anxious? Were you getting nervous about that?
At first I wasn't nervous. I was pretty confident since my last game was in Catalina. I did pretty well. But you know, the game dragged on. He started the pressure, and I started losing lots of SCVs, and I didn't panic, but I started to get really anxious. Like, oh my god, am I actually gonna lose this? Am I not gonna qualify to the semifinals? And then, but I did the same thing. I just kept playing, even playing from behind. Which meant I had to play smart, you know, cut corners and stuff. I didn't get any turrets or anything like that.
Yeah.
And the comeback happened.
The comeback is real, man, and you made it through TVT, which, again, I want to reiterate, like you were saying, your least comfortable matchup. Now you get to go into a TVZ, which I think you've also said is a weirdly uncomfortable matchup for you. I'm actually, like, really disappointed, because one of the things I was looking forward to was your Terran versus Protoss. Like you said, you had this secret playstyle in that you were being told was, like, risky and everything. We never got to see it, so I'm going to ask you now, since we're not going to get a chance to see it, what exactly was this TVP style you were keeping secret, man?
Okay, so remember when Frost used to be on the ladder pool, and Maru started playing like he didn't go Vikings at all. He just went Widow Mines, Bio, and Medivacs, and he would drop everywhere. But the maps now, if you try to do that, like, it's still viable because the Widow Mines are back to normal. But you'll simply die to a counterattack. So depending on the time of the game, I'll lay down X amount of bunkers, and then I'll take a third entry bay to research the bunker armor and extra bunker space.
The Neo Steel frame?
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's actually really cool. So basically you're using the bunkers to pack in extra units and accommodate the fact that you're up against a lot of splash damage, and you don't want to, like, just die to that splash damage counterattack. Of the Colossus and everything.
Yeah, either he goes Colossus, or even better, if he goes HTs, the storms don't even matter.
Oh, yeah.
Bunkers.
Bunkers
I've had that
happen
a couple of times. I think I was playing against Todd, and he opened with Templars. I had like 7 bunkers, and my entire army was loaded up.
God.
There was nothing for him, Storm.
Oh god, it was just like rage storms down on the bunkers. It's like, I know this doesn't do damage, but it makes me feel better. But awesome job, man. Congratulations. You're going to be moving on to play against JonSnow in the semifinals. How you feeling about that, man? How you feeling about Terran versus Zerg? So I think we did get to see... no, we only got to see your Terran... Wait. Did we see your Terran versus Protoss? No, we didn't see your Terran versus... You didn't play Kai-Fire. No, never mind. Okay. You saw your Terran versus Zerg. Yes. Versus Midday. So how you feeling about it against JonSnow?
I beat JonSnow before. But after losing to Midday, I guess I'm not as confident as I was before.
Yeah, and you guys are former teammates as well, is that correct? Like from Core Gaming?
Yeah, we're really good friends actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of lame that I got second place because I wanted both of us to meet in the finals. That was like the ultimate goal, I guess.
Yeah, man. Of course.
Which is, fortunate.
Of course, friends meeting in the finals always the ultimate goal, so congratulations on that. You may be able to make it happen yet. You actually, very intentionally, I can understand that, you threw the games versus Midday so you can be the second seed out and, of course, play against JonSnow in the finals. You don't want to knock him out in the semis. But congratulations on that, man. Do you have any final shout-outs you want to do before we close everything up?
Yeah, big shout-out to JonSnow for getting first place in his group. A shout-out to EJK for helping me practice, especially TVT. And a shout out to John and my team, Dolly.
Yeah, awesome. Well, guys, be sure to check out Kelazhur over on Twitter, @Kelazhur. And, of course, if you do want to get your last opportunity to win that plushie, that's a great opportunity. Go ahead and follow Kelazhur and tweet at me and him and let us know that you want to see him versus JonSnow in the semifinal or in the finals. And you want to see like Kelazhur take it or you want to see JonSnow take it. But thank you so much, Kelazhur. Looking forward to seeing more from you tomorrow, as well as in the show matches, and I'll talk to you about that later. But have a wonderful night, dude. I'm not going to keep you on the call any longer. It's getting pretty damn late for you. So have a wonderful night, and take care.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Zombie Grub, it's been a long day. For, I would say, even longer for you. But we are pretty much finished up with the stream, guys. Do hope you decide to stick around so we find out who is actually going to be one of the glorious winners of the Zergling plushie. I'll give you guys a little bit more time to get in those final tweets if you so choose to. But in the meanwhile, I do want to just kind of talk a little bit about, everyone that's actually gone into making Breaking Out and the Breaking Out Invitational possible. And that starts actually off with some of the donators. The donators who actually donate directly to the prize pool. I put up $1,000. That's the base prize pool. That's like the minimum prize pool that could be available. But actually, we've had the prize pool raised throughout the past seasons by quite a bit. This season, I think we were up at $1,548. And we've already gotten a couple more. We've gotten 2 more donations during the actual course of the stream. We've gotten a $15 donation, actually, from Andrew Nguyen. Thank you so much to Andrew Nguyen for your $15 donation. And actually, it was really, really awesome. And we had a $50 donation, 50 donation from Kale Christensen. So thank you so much, Kale Christensen. It means a ton. And I believe $65, 15, okay. 1548 plus 65, 1613, $1,613 is the current prize pool. We'll still have a day left. If you do decide to donate, you can just hit that link down below that says Breakout Invitational, has a little donate button, and it will go 100% to the prize pool and to all the players. Even if your favorite player that you were rooting for was knocked out already, of course, they do still get a share of the prize pool, 4% of the prize pool. 50% still going to first place, of course, for that good old victory, but that is going to be kind of the shout-outs for the donations and everything. And, of course, shout-out to one of the biggest donators of them all, Let's Kung Fu, a.k.a. Psystorm Gaming, a.k.a. Damon Knight. Wonderful. He's been supporting Breakout Invitational for quite a bit of time. Every single season has been helpful, and just want to give a huge shout-out to him, as well as everyone that makes this possible, including people like Zombie Grub, Day 9, Tempo, StarCraft, In Control, like all of these guys who just decided, you know what? Casting with this like total noob who doesn't know anything about Terran vs. Terran, has terrible production skills, sitting around with me for like 5.5 hours, and it was like, oh my god, I've been up since like freaking 8 in the morning casting a Korean StarCraft league that starts at like 5 in the morning for some people. Like, I really do appreciate it. It means a ton to have you on. So thank you so much, Zombie Grub. where can people find you at in case they didn't know where you were at already? Because I think a lot of people are from Base Trade anyways in the chat right now.
You can follow me on Twitter at CG Gaming and on Twitch at /ZombieGrub.
Be sure to check out Zombie Grub, and a huge shout out, of course, to Base Trade, Diablo. God, I keep saying his name is Diablo. Diabo, Base Trade, Sephorath, Escape Champ, and the Real Naman, all for the host. It meant a lot, of course, also adding to that viewership and everything. But yeah, that's actually gonna be it for that. Final note is those tweets for the Zerglin plushie. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get that random number generator out. See exactly who's gonna be winning it. As we count down in. And the winner is going to be... give me a second. Justice SC... Oh, hold on. Actually, hold on. Wait, no, that's... Wrong tweet. He didn't actually hashtag anything, so never mind. Actually, I think... Wow, guys, okay. Well, I think that our winner is just decided by default. I only see one of them, actually, over here. So one tweet out, and that's actually going to be from Master Dolk. Tweeted out about Kelazhur and his hashtagging Breakout NA. I know actually he was talking about how he wanted this Zerglin plushie, and he is our wonderful admin, so congratulations, Master Dolk. You just won yourself an adorable little plushie that is actually probably about as young as you are. It looks about as young as you are. Master Dolk, the 7-year-old in esports. He's not actually 7, but he looks 7 anyways. We always make fun of Master Dolk and how young he is, but very, very awesome guy. And, oh, sorry, ZenMeg, tweeting in just a little bit too late, but be sure to do your tweets in tomorrow if you want a chance to win that Zerglin plushie. Guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. I actually think that's everything. The last thing that doesn't actually require me plugging anything is I'm going to go host somebody, so please, if you do decide to stick around, you're still looking for a little bit more StarCraft to check out, I'm going to be finding an awesome StarCraft stream that is definitely worth checking out. So have a wonderful night, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you tomorrow with the show matches starting at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, casted by Tempo and myself, as well as the semifinals and finals starting around 3-ish Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Day 9 and myself. Have a wonderful night, guys.